analogy. Shockwave is active in chat.
Well, I would hope so.
Got a lot to say.
Well, I don't always participate in the chat
Any
that
more
often
nuns?
because I'm
Don't like the
because
nuns?
I can't chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. In other words, I can't do two things: participate in the show and talk to the people online at the same time. I suck at that shit.
Don't worry. We're live. You're live. Everyone hears all the mistakes you're making. It's good.
I know, but I'm sorry, folks, for that.
Fair enough. So well, welcome everyone. How are you? We just stepped in the middle of a conversation. We have Chris, Duff, James, Buddy.
Hello.
We have, of course, Rick and Tess and Cy. So it's a good time, and I'm glad that everyone's here. So we had an idea today because there's been a few things we've been talking about, and one of them was, okay, I got hiccups suddenly. This is embarrassing. We're talking about the giant wave of gas apparently going through the solar system, Betelgeuse exploding, and this is the big one that started it all off. Tess was telling me about this. I don't really understand it, so let's start here. So there was some electrical currents flowing into the ground through, sort of like where the northern lights are. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, I posted.
You mean visible ones that we could see, as opposed to the non-visible ones that are always doing it every time?
Well, this might be the first time that they've made a direct connection between the northern lights and the electric currents into the ground, because they should happen right there. That should be the most active spot. I mean, Iceland's pretty active. So.
Well, there was some talk about it being unexpected, but that was just rumor stuff and that kind of stuff. They pretty much predicted what it was, but I think they had better measurements of it. I'm not quite sure. I didn't read the whole article.
Well, I like this part at the bottom where it says the Earth may have crossed through a fold. What the hell does that mean? In the heliospheric sheet. Again, what the hell does that mean? You mean the Earth went through a plasmoid is what you're saying, okay. And a giant wavy membrane. Oh, I love this. No, but they're not wrong that crossing that particular sheet would have a bigger impact on us. But to actually measure electrical currents flowing through the ground into the ground from underneath the aurora, that's pretty impressive, and it seemed like a shock wave. And remember those? We were talking about that before when asteroids are coming, or sorry, I guess meteors in this case, are going into the Earth. The shell that forms around the coma can release flare up and have shock waves. Now those shock waves can be heard instantly because they'll affect the ground around you piezoelectrically. So you won't have to wait for the sound to get you. You'll be able to see the exploding sound wave from it if there is an explosion, but you'll hear it instantly. But it's only going to affect the rocks around you, not like, so I've been told, in the Tunguska-like blasts and such, which this must have happened before. This kind of shockwave, I mean.
Multiple times over human history, yes, I'm guessing.
Yes.
So that is definitely not a Birkeland current, a current sheet, because that's what it sounded like. But that's what I was.
Well, he said it was crossing the sheet. This thing here, this sheet. So we went through it, and apparently, when we went through it, it got weird and affected the ground, and they measured it. I think that's pretty cool. Like it's not a perfect metaphor, but think of the spray of waves from energetic particles raining down in our atmosphere in the form of aurora. Everything about that sentence is wrong.
How
everything.
often does this happen? This crossing this alleged fold in the current sheet?
Well, several
You
times
know?
a year, I assume.
Oh, really?
Probably a
So
day.
why are they so surprised?
Because they probably never measured it before, and it was like a shockwave. They say that it was like it passed through a fold. Now, my idea of when you start folding plasma together is you're going to make a plasmoid. So, but that doesn't mean that. I mean, Daniel might be able to say, or other people who have studied some solar storms. I guess people on that might know more, but I'm
I
not.
think it could have been the comet tail connecting. There was a small comet approaching on the 11th, the closest approach. I mean, maybe, right?
Really?
I mean, maybe, yeah.
I didn't know there's like even a comet out there right now.
Yeah. And there's been all these earthquakes, and well, we were talking about, let's see what happens on the lunar eclipse. Do you know how Andy Hall talks about how the energy of the electricity and the earth when there's comets or solar events, it kind of like gets amps
I keep on wondering whether or not that
and
is.
then it comes out different ways.
Well,
So
it does. It does. I remember this is so weird because, like I said, I mean, Buddy knows we were there and having this conversation sitting in the room. It's like, no, freaking currents are not they're going through the planet. They're doing what? Because he's a mechanical engineer, so this is fantastic to hear you go. No, this is what Andy was thinking. It's like, God, me and Buddy had this conversation with Andy, except that Andy fell down and smashed his face off a table, but. He's.
I think, Chris, we're talking about the currents going through the planet, right?
Yeah, remember we were having that conversation out with.
Yeah. I think it was left off with Chris was talking about 5 polar vortices, a predominance of charge coming in the southern pole, the South Pole, with 6 vortices. Distinguishable or identifiable, and then the charge coming out through the top weaker with 5 vortices. But that's, I think, the last where some of the research was.
Are you looking for the one
Comet?
that just came by?
Yeah.
You can go to, it's 289.
I have no idea what it was called. You told me that there was a comet.
289 Bland Pan. I can give you the link. I shared it before in the chat, so it must be somewhere 300 messages.
Going to Mercury Comet. Okay, stop with your 8-cylinder cars, okay? 8-cylinder, 200 horsepower.
Well, that was big in '64.
Yeah.
I'm going to look for it and put it in here, okay?
Oh, no problem. Go ahead and drop it in there.
So I just downloaded Google Earth, and I found a whole bunch of places in Canada right off the bat that have that language that we were interested in, all over the topology. Yeah.
I'm kind of interested in that.
Yeah, it's really cool. I say we play around a little bit with Google Earth today sometime at some point.
Oh, you can easily take over the screen and do that, yeah.
Yeah, show us.
I mean, it's not like we don't have, we have giant wave of gas lurking, so we're going to talk about that, and Betelgeuse. I just started with this one because we're here, mostly because I'm very interested in telluric currents, the way that the Earth allows, well, it's a load. I mean, electricity is flowing through it, and therefore there must be a load. But what is it used for? Like, you know, how we've obviously seen it for the same thing, geothermal, mining, exploration, all of this can be done using the electric currents, which is very interesting.
It's how you make dragons. That's what it's used for.
I almost want to see it, but then I keep thinking, we see them all the time. We just see them from not on our planet. Like, we see them on the sun. Like, those prominences would be dragons if we were standing underneath them. We'd freak the heck out. Well,
right.
We'd probably burn to death because we're on the sun, right? But, you know, yeah, it's definitely perspective, because do you guys have seen the before Buddy takes over there, you guys have seen the Saturn storm, right? Dragon storm. Images. There. Okay, so this right here, if you've ever seen this, the Dragon Storm, this is on Saturn. Okay, so this is not in the cloud. It's reaching out from the planet towards the rings. There's a ball in the middle, that's a plasmoid, and there are two snakes on either side twisting up of it. If you were standing on the ground looking at that, let's say where this dot is, and looking at that, that's what we would see all the time on Earth back then. Like when you saw that in the sky. Like
That's
snakes
a spiral
like that.
galaxy on each side of that plasmoid, by the way.
Well, there was a snake or a twisting dragon on either side of the coats of arms, or a twisting lion.
And they're opposing.
Right.
They're two separate chiralities too. You can see one
Being a different
spiraling one way
direction.
and one spiraling the other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The twins.
But on either side of a plasmoid in the middle. And we've seen that before. Like, let's say, I bet you if I just type in ancient Chinese gong. Okay, images. Okay, there's kind of like it right there. See if I can find another one. Because there, see, two snakes on either side of a friggin' gong. Jesus.
That's 3, Neil.
Oh, my apologies. Sorry, I wasn't looking real close. But you see the symbols, right? I mean, it's clear. But I saw
the
one.
symbology's there, yeah.
What's it called? Ancient, maybe the ancient Chinese coat of arms with dragons. With dragons. There. Okay. See on either side, and then the thing in the middle. That's your symbol. That's what's important. That makes a lot of sense. They must have saw this quite frequently.
Yeah, they saw in 15. Well, yes, throughout the history, but in as early. Well, what was it? Well, in the 10 or 11th century, I think it was, no, 11th or 12th century. I think it was in the 12th century. They saw they depicted it like a flying dragon, and it was the comet, and it was just the side view of just like that wave that we were talking about of the Birkeland current.
Yeah.
It was the tail of the comet spiraling and seen sideways, not from. If you look at it from the back, it would be a swastika, but if you look at it from the side, it would look like going up and down, sine wave or
yeah.
What's another name for a dragon? Griffin.
Serpent, flying serpent.
Griffin as well.
I was like,
Griffin is another.
That is not a type of bird. Okay.
Griffin?
Well,
yeah, they use that as well.
The griffin, I believe the griffin has wings and a dragon's head.
And a lion part, I think, right? It's a lion.
Yeah, the griffin has a lion's body.
So there are many different visualizations or stories or words to describe the same thing over time.
Actually,
just like Saturn has 50 names, and Jupiter has 50 names, and Venus has over 50 names, so do these electrical dragons that we're seeing in the heavens.
Well, this reminds me of when I see this, it's a feathery dragon. So it's a feathered serpent, which is a type of dragon. Like
and they also had 7 exactly, and they had the 5 or 7 or 6 headed dragons, which is the number
Hydra.
of tails.
Yeah.
The number of tails where the people could see from the comet, depending on how they're. See, because the comets either are
flared head like a cobra.
They're discharging the magnetosphere, which is the Birkeland current of Earth, or the Van Allen belt, so you can call them that, or it's discharging the sun's Birkeland currents. So depending on how it's pointing, or another planet, if it's going by another planet's tail, then it would look in many, many different ways. So it's all about which way the tail was pointing, how people were looking up at the comet, and how it was discharging. That's what I have.
I love how they depicted Quetzalcoatl with all these multitudes of colors, which would have been fair.
Yeah.
But
they have a bird, in the Quetzal bird in Mexico, in the Mayans. Mm-hmm. It's called Quetzal, and that's the colors of the Quetzal bird. Just write Quetzal, do a browsing for the first part, besides
and that's the bird. Right?
and then coatl means serpent.
Right.
So what they did is put together the bird that they knew, one of their beautiful birds, together with the serpent, which was the comet, and the god Quetzalcoatl,
And up
and
north,
they put
they
it
called it the
together, and
Thunderbird.
that's how you get that beautiful blue serpent-like bird, colored.
Look
with
what they
wings.
try. Look
And
how they
the
were
North
trying to depict
Americans,
that.
like I say, called it the Thunderbird.
That's a
And
one.
as a translation, it makes sense as well, because they were seeing these things and associating them with power and authority from the sky, from above.
Well, they were
And
so
so
brilliantly bright, you can't ignore
Right.
them.
Exactly. And so if you're building a regime or a power structure in culture, you want to have associate yourself with things that seem like power from above. So it makes perfect sense that these dragons would be
Look at this one.
useful in culture because they were symbols of authority and power. I mean, what's more powerful than a lightning bolt, shooting through the sky
Yeah.
and occasionally killing a few people here and
That's
there?
the moon god
just
right
'cause,
there.
right?
The one on the right, exactly. And there's that's the moon god, the one that you have in the box in the
Here?
Kukulkan. Well, that's wrong. That's not Quetzalcoatl. That's a moon god. They mixed them up in there. And whomever put that link in there. Yeah. And then the other thing is that they also have in that one that you were showing, but they also have a depiction of the Mayans. It's like a man sitting inside of a comet, just like the angels. And
Oh
it's a
yes,
man
the
sitting on
machine
the
dude. Yeah.
serpent, driving the serpent, and he has a helmet. It's very interesting, and he has a little bag, like the bag of seeds that's seen in the Sumerians. That they hold the bag, but they said,
Right,
"Oh,
that bag and-
it's a man purse." It's not a man purse. It's some bag that depicts the seeds of the new life that gets created after
This one.
these electrical discharges cause DNA
Actually,
changes.
the bag was shown. Hang on. Actually, that bag
Go ahead.
is carved into stone in the bottom of Squatter Man. So that bag was an electrical discharge shape.
Huh.
Yes. Neil, do you remember?
There's not a lot of
website
information
that
about
has
what that bag was, so
carved
it's
into it?
I'm
interesting
I'm
hypothesis.
Scottish. I know what a sporan is. The dangling thing
Yeah, there
between
you
your
go.
legs with the 3 tassels on it. There's a reason there's 3 tassels, for one for the 3 gods. We all know what
Those
this
are dick
is.
ticklers.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm
Can you-
sorry.
guys-
I got
Can you
married
guys hear me?
commando.
You know
Yeah.
what, Neil? You remember which rock carving I was talking about with the headdress of the gods with the bag at the bottom of it on that column?
I think I do.
I think you do.
It's like that guy, kind of, but he's well, there's a guy with the wings, the lizard with the wings too.
No, but it's in the Middle East, right? It's not South American. It's Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
The one
Yes,
I'm
and the
talking about is on
Egyptians-
one of
the
the
Egyptians
Electric
also have-
Universe websites.
The Egyptians also have that bag. They're carrying the bag, and they have the tree of life, and it's the tree
That's
of
right.
life. Life is all life. It symbolizes all life on the planet, and it's being
So you
like the
think it's
pine
a bag
cone.
of seeds?
Yes,
That's so
yes.
interesting. It
The pine
makes sense.
cone. What is a pine cone? It's seeds. It's
A
the
seed
seed of
bank.
the
Yeah,
pine.
it is.
And he's seeding
Ah.
the tree of life, which is all life on the planet that gets
I don't get that at all.
mutated, and there's new life
Neil,
after
Because the
each
whole focus was
catastrophe.
receding after
Neil?
the catastrophe. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
I
yes.
hear you.
I see. I
Neil,
see.
who is the fella that created that website a long time ago? That you brought into the group maybe 4 months ago, something like that.
Well,
Are you
you're gonna
changing the
have to
subject, Rick?
name who it is because I wouldn't know.
I
What was
I
this?
can't remember it's an Electric Universe website that was started a long time ago.
Everything
and
electric?
Yeah, everything electric. That picture is on that website.
I know it's right
You
here.
made a connection between the sporin and this bag. I've never thought of that before. Do you have any other reason to believe that there is this connection? It's a compelling idea.
Oh,
Well,
I have
look
lots.
at it.
I have about the seeds. Oh, yes, I have a whole thing.
No,
I've
he's talking to
written-
me there.
Oh,
No, I'm talking about the connection to the sporin.
Oran,
And-
this thing. It hangs
Is
in the front of your thing. Right there on your kilt.
Girt your loins.
Yeah, well,
wow.
it's on your kilt. You wear it in front of your kilt.
And it always has this 3 on it.
I'm
and
also Scottish, by the way, so
It's how I wear my fanny pack.
there you go.
Heck.
See, yeah. But each of these are, in my opinion, this guy is dressed up like that guy. That's what you're dressed like. He's dressed as the same friggin' guy. That's why that's is over his shoulder. That thing over the shoulder is the same as that thing over the shoulder. It's the same friggin' thing, or a fish in this case, awanas. But that symbol, like when I see all this, what I see is this guy is a planet, probably Jupiter or whatever, floating away. He's holding on to 2 other planets. There might even be a 3rd planet behind it, and this is the conjunction flying out to space. That's and these arms are holding on to 2 different planets that are moving around, and these they have arms holding on to them basically because they're still connected to one another, and then eventually they broke apart and this conjunction disappeared. But it was flying away from us. That's my feeling on that. And we were seeing it side on like we are.
well, see, the connection there is.
But I don't
that
know if it's true.
We've talked in. Go ahead.
I'm done.
We've talked about the garden idea in the past, that the Earth is a garden, and what you're saying there, Neil, is that there's this connection to the planet, and then we're also saying that there's this potential that there's this seed thing. I mean, these are connected ideas to me. It would make sense if this was such an important object, if it were the gods are holding the seeds of humanity, and if the Earth is a garden. There was this time when the garden was wiped clean and then reseeded, that they're symbolizing the idea that they're bringing the life back to a devastated planet.
That is the problem. Are they really? Or no, let me just finish here. If this is a situation, the question is whether or not they think in metaphor. If they are thinking literally and they are depicting what they see, putting their own touch on it, which is what we're seeing here, but they are seeing something and then they infer meaning onto it later, that might be one thing. But if you're thinking that they're trying to paint a metaphor, I don't think that's the case. In most cases, that's something that's much more modern within the last 2,000 years. We didn't metaphor before that. It was pretty literal. That's why it's so damn confusing.
Well, you could ask, were there seeds inside of any of the vessels, inside of any of the tombs that were found?
Well,
because that could,
there you go. I don't know.
Okay, well, during the time of the Eucalion, the mythologies say that Jupiter created a whole new race of men and life on Earth, and that said
probably changed the entire planet.
Mythology.
Yeah.
It changed the race that mankind changed, the shape of animals and the size of animals changed, that new species were created. It's said like that, plain and simple, straightforward.
Well, who's Captain God with the big beard there and the 2 things on either side of his head? So we know him. And so you can start inferring from there. But, I mean, he's obviously glowing pretty bad right now. I mean, Jupiter would be the little dot in the middle of this. His 2 eyes would be the flares on either side, and we're seeing a giant coma around it, which is his wings. And these arms are reaching out of it and somewhere. That's what I'm seeing. But, I mean, look, you even have his arm has that little symbol there.
Well, to me, that means the planet. That's the planet. His horns, that's a Sumerian god.
The planet would be right there in this little tiny spot.
Which planet it is. Each planet has a different amount of numbers of horns. That's how it is. Like there's more. The Anu has the most number of horns, and then it goes down like around the Enlil and Enki and down. They get less amount of horns.
Those horns.
And the wings of the planet flying
are the torides
on heaven. That's the theme on heaven. That's what the wings mean. That he's flying in heaven. He's not on the earth.
Oh, I agree that this is something they're seeing in space. Yes.
Neil, can you go back to the picture with the headdress on the god?
Which god? Which headdress?
No, the one that you were previously at, before, 2 back.
I'll just hit back until you're happy. All right. Where do you want to be?
You went past it.
Okay, this way.
Yeah, keep going. There. Those horns, as Tess calls them, they are. Now you went past it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you trying to watch it on the friggin' screen, or are you watching on Skype?
I'm watching it on Skype, my friend.
Oh.
See the horns there on the helmet?
I'm mad at you.
The horns on the. See the horns on the. Now it's gone again.
What? I don't know where you want to be. I'm just clicking buttons. And okay, how about this? I'll leave it here. You figure out if this is right.
Right there. Stop.
I'm not moving.
Stop right there.
I'm not moving. My hand is fucking away from the fucking microphone. Okay. I'm holding it behind my back.
There's a lag in Skype. Obviously. So, anyways, the horns. You remember the picture of the column with the handbag at the bottom of the horns and no person there, just the horns. And at the shape of the horns, which is the centipede god that the Egyptians talk about that killed everybody on the planet with the synchrotron radiation. And the handbag was an electrical discharge at the bottom. It was like a squatter man form. It was a form of squatter man.
Well, it was sort of like this, actually, if you really want to get right down to it. It was probably like it's gone through different phases.
I was trying to find the picture that of that column.
Stealing the gigs. Like that. But that's what it was at the beginning. It was a bag or testicles that were hanging down behind it. This is when it was attached to the planet, because you can see that this is still coming right out of the North Pole or South Pole. This is not something that's in the sky, like you said, with the wings.
And you can see them depicting those horns on the helmet as ribs now. It's artistic.
Hey, those are not horns.
No, they're
Can you not show that, please? Those things really bother me. Okay, those were put. Okay, let me tell you what that is. Those were put outside of the churches to show people what was sinful and what was not accepted, and those kind of things of sexual stuff were put outside of the churches in the corners, so people that
much
couldn't
older
read
than the church
could see that. No, but I'm talking about these ones that he's showing. The ones that he's showing.
I'm showing them because
people would understand that that's sinful and that will send you to hell. Yeah, I just watched a documentary on that, and
I think they're totally full of crap.
The one about the devil. Watch it. They show.
Because when I watch these guys, I don't.
Body parts.
Usually, I try to stay very much away from anything that's religious, obviously. But when it comes to a television show, but because the last thing I need to hear is like on Christmas. I mean, how many? Let's go explore Jesus' tombs for like the 30th friggin' time. Do I need to hear this? But this right here, from my understanding, these were put up there by the people who were forced to tear down their old structures and build the churches, and they hid these away from where the priests would ever see them. But they're basically putting their old symbols onto new monuments, just like we always did. But this case, hiding it from the actual priest, because he's, an asshole, and they're still following the old religion until eventually the church won. They forgot. But obviously, if they're saying that, but look at the symbol. She literally has a Saturn symbol on either side of her. Like, this is clear to me anyway. But I understand what they might have been saying in the documentary. I just don't think it's accurate.
And we have to remember that all of this stuff that we're looking at from the ancients is all slightly different, slightly changed because of artistic flair.
Well, obviously, look, there's the Squatter Man.
And the different types of stories that they arose are the same. It's artistic flair, giving the gods, the planets, the electrical discharges, human attributes.
Oh, yeah. This is only because the arms were down kind of weird. Remember when we were talking about how if we saw it from a different angle, it was going to be messed up? If we saw Squatter Man from a different angle? Well, this is exactly what we're talking about. This is messed up Squatter Man, probably from the South Pole, seeing sort of and not correctly put in the right spot. So if we go to the original Squatter Man, just the regular Squatter Man, Sick Man thing, Squatter Man, Sick Man, the symbols are like this. See, his arms are in different spots, but see, that symbol is still at the bottom. It's just not emphasized anymore. Down here, it's right there. See, so
You're looking at the image beside the right in the dead center of the picture.
I was looking at all three of them.
The image with the column.
Yeah, this one.
With the no, in the middle of the
What
Google
are you talking
search.
about? Middle of the Google search.
In the middle of the Google search, there's a squatter man squatting, and then the squatter man archetype. The archetype one looks like Chinese, but on the left of it, left of it, that's the one I was talking about. There's the bag and there's the headgear.
Yeah.
And no person.
Yeah, that's the same thing as
that's what it looked like.
That's the Sheila the Gig vulva right there, same spot. Or
that's
a foran.
More what it looked like, a more realistic interpretation of what it looked like.
That one right there is another depiction.
And that is, you're right, Rick. And from a particular place on the Earth, that image looked more like an insect, like a cockroach. And there are also
a centipede.
Yeah, a centipede, very, very much. And we see tons of these centipede-like rock carvings that are right alongside. God. They're right alongside the squatter man. These are things that were known to be associated with each other, and so they were seeing both in the same place, in my opinion, because the orientation of the event in the sky was also changing and manipulating. So it wasn't just where you lived on the planet.
No. It had to do where you were and what you were seeing.
Your perspective.
Plus, of course, if the skies were clear, not all the time the skies were clear. Things were getting devastated around there. Some of them would be occluded by just the clouds in the sky, but you could still see them through the clouds. They'd be so bright.
It said that in the Bible that God came in the clouds.
Crazy boom.
Damn. Electrical lightning.
Okay, well, I have a little theory here. Can I?
Oh, yes.
Share it with you?
Of course.
Okay,
this right here, by the way, is kind of, that's right there is kind of, might be closer to what we were seeing, if you get my meaning. These guys are pretty good depictions. But anyway, keep going.
All right. Okay, so I have a little theory because I've been thinking about I have, it's not a conclusion yet, but I'm thinking maybe I understood why the polar configuration exists, the theory. And I'm just throwing it out there for you guys to think about. And I have some questions that I also wrote down. But from my research and from what I've been reading from the mythologies and looking at the past history, is that don't get mad at me, and I'll take full responsibility. It's not any of you saying this, it's just me. So
don't worry about that. I don't think anyone's going to get mad.
You are all off the hook. It's just me, the crazy lady. No, I'm not crazy, but the lady with a theory that says that I think is because they don't want us to know or focus on comets entering the solar system that can be large as Venus or the moon, and that can be responsible for disasters on Earth. Still, that could happen anytime, still happening until the 1800s, as early 1900s, or it could take place anytime. Because according to the historical sources that I've been looking at, they definitely, it's like a documentary books that I've been writing more than me making up stories. I just put in there what I have found. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that the people, the chronicles, the historians say that the comets were as big or bigger than the moon or as big as Venus.
Yep.
And Venus and Mars, they don't say they're little rocks and the little rocks. No, they say they're big, big things. And when they put the paintings and they show the paintings, they're big, huge. And Venus and Mars have still approached Earth's orbit, and messed with Earth's orbit as late as 1680 and 1744 AD. And like I said, the comets come in all sizes, and they're not just little rocks. So, and I don't know why they would have done that, but that's what I have come to conclude.
You're not wrong.
There are some questions. Yes, it's like, don't look at that. Don't look at that. It all happened 11,000 years ago, one time, in one occasion, one episode. Don't think about it anymore. Forget about it. Don't fear. Nothing to fear. Don't look that way. Just keep looking this way.
Well, we tried to get rid of basically the authority was brought down from the heavens because, it makes so much sense that when the priest is sitting there going, everyone work, do your thing, give us money, blah 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 blah, and then they see a comet in the sky or something, everyone flips out. They can't keep control of the situation, and that is like a reason why eventually to go, nope, they don't exist. Just rocks don't fall from heaven. You guys are all crazy. Pretend it's not real. La 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 la. And that's what it seems like to me sometimes. Like they're basically the whole world is a almost like a self-enforcing delusion about ignore this because we can't handle the truth almost. Oh, speaking of there's a good look at all the aliens in that one. Wow. Gotta go look at this. Here, I'll see if I can actually open image in new tab. But no, it just happens to be. You can see that they were trying to anthropomorphize, but none of that was humans. I mean, they're all plasma forms. I liked how they used like a red ichor and use white and red to sort of catch the picture.
And I put some of the photos of the Egyptians sitting the tree of life as well. And
there we go.
The depictions of the comets as 7 dragons. Yeah, that was the one of the comet that is just like the
just
other,
like the Mayan
angel.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, like the angel in the depiction of Christ crucifixion. See, he's controlling. He has his bag of seeds. He doesn't have the pine cone in his hand, but look at the bag. It's exactly like the other.
Yes, definitely. Although
I don't know what the thing is on top of him. What do you think is that on top of his head? Like not the helmet, but above that, between the serpent's head and the guy's head. I haven't figured that one out yet.
Well, if I was guessing, like if I was trying to figure this
shielding.
out. No, it's not reality. I'm trying to figure out what this
direction.
No, I mean,
I'm saying as an artist, it would indicate direction potentially. If I were drawing or painting that, I would say that it indicates that there's movement in its direction.
Well, those dragons must, yeah.
The head of the dragon, and if you were designing a vehicle, you would design it with a tail, fin, and a nose in that shape. So that would be
the same dude here, as you said. He's in the Egyptian. He's doing the same thing in the Egyptian way. His bag, however, is not a bag anymore. It's now an offering thing in his hand. Am I seeing this right?
Yeah, it's got the 3 tassels, but it's not bottom. It's the top.
No, I'm just saying it's a similar feature.
Yeah, the Persians have a kilt as well. So and in fact, kilts are the warriors' armor.
Oh yeah, you don't have to tell me. I wear them all the time.
Well, anyway, I have something interesting I thought about the bag, which is by the Egyptians. I think they took it more like something.
Wow, this is a nightmare, isn't it? The hell is this? Sorry.
It's like they're all seeing eyes of the Tibetan monsters. Remember how they have seeing eyes everywhere? Well,
I wouldn't want to judge, but I guarantee you I would kill these things.
They have those eyes everywhere.
With
they
fire.
Have eyes all over. So these are the comets. Now these are 2-headed comets.
That makes sense. 2-headed comets, you're right.
Yes. And the crowns are the rays. The rays discharging on their heads. They look like crowns.
These eyes would be the twisting plasmoids in the tails of them. Obviously very active. Look at the electric fins coming off it.
James was in the middle of a thought.
Oh, I wasn't going to stop his thought. I just saw this picture pop up. Please go ahead, James. It was so right in your face. Go on.
Well, that was very interesting. The eyes of the comets, because it's obvious that in the ancient times there was an event that it really intensified, and it's been decreasing ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we don't see what they saw with their own eyes. But back to the bag, I think the Egyptians used it more like a thing to hold what they would, the papyrus, with what they wrote. But other people were using it or metaphorically using it for other things. I think in the Bible that I read, I think they call it a bottle, or I mean the translation that they use for us for. They say, "Put my tears in your bottle." I never understood that passage, but tears can be utilized for a seed, I suppose, or something like that. But
Well,
both
they must be
purse
something
and
to their culture. Like, I mean, it was a bag because bags were in their culture. In most cultures, I would assume. But in the Egyptian one, they have different ornaments and say, well, it doesn't quite look like a bag from my point of view. It sort of looks like one of those stelae things that we're holding up. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And that's what he's depicting in his image because they have something else, if you get my meaning. Like they have something, like these people are trying to adapt what they see. That's why you anthropomorphize something. It's on fire in the sky. You can't really paint fire, right? There's a sort of a stylized version. Well, if you saw one of these symbols, you might think of it as a hand, or you might picture it as a flaming dragon or a shell, as you're seeing from this image. But
yeah, that's the tails of the comet. Exactly, right there. All of those, they're the tails of the comet.
So is
the comet coming downward toward the head.
To understand what James was saying, I think that the culture itself would lend itself to its stylization later. I think. I hope that makes sense.
Well, we are forgetting that the ancients immortalized Venus as the primordial comet. That means the comet that begot all comets.
Well, yeah, it would be the very bright and annoying one. Yeah, I'd say the one that would, occasionally try to kill us. I'd be paying attention to it. There, now they're girls in dresses. I don't know how this happens, but there's still 3 of them though. There's another 3 for some reason. That trinity of the holy ideas there is very interesting too. Like why 3? It can't just be planets. I mean, it looks like it might be planets because there's a planet on each one of them, but I don't know.
Columns, same as the 2 dots that Kronos keeps talking about, the twins, the 2.
There's a good stick man.
We're just stylizing it in a different way. It's 2 what, though? It's the 2 torus fields, the 2 dots that we could see. That's basically what all of this is. And again, these plasma forms changed shapes.
Yes,
they didn't
all
stay
the
in a
time.
torus. That's how language became. That's how the Jewish people and the Chinese got their characters, through watching these plasma shapes. And
I
they
have no
wrote them
doubt that's
down.
where the O and the V and the A came from. Watching Stargate alone,
Right. Well,
Ooh.
all of the ancient scripts look very similar to Chinese script in the way that they're structured. Not identical, mind you, probably because of viewing it from different angles, like Duffy says.
Oh yeah, clearly. Look at this. This was number one. That's a lot of tall buildings for 1144 to 47. So
Yes.
dark tornadoes, either in the clouds or did somehow this
coming down, like from the sky downwards, and also green and red tornadoes. They're describing.
Well, that if they're, I don't know, that'd be really weird because they would imply it's quite close to the Earth if it was coming down to the Earth.
Oh yeah, that fire is what caused the conflagrations.
Oh really?
Yes.
So that means they were struck
Exactly.
or otherwise hit. That was
Yes.
probably explain why I remember the story in 1910.
The sky is falling. The sky is falling.
No.
Yes.
Mark Twain was talking about it because in 1910, Halley's Comet we're going to enter the tail of Halley's Comet, and everybody was flipping shit. And I didn't understand why. It's just a comet. I saw Halley's Comet go by in '86. I didn't freak out, but they knew that they were going to pass through the tail of the comet. This was an episode of, like, even Doctor Who had an episode about this, I think. So, I'm now trying to and now I'm appreciating the hysteria a bit more. Look at that,
Check that out.
cigar-shaped meteor.
Or is it a plasma tube?
Yeah, we were talking about that too.
They also described a 2,000-pound meteor.
I saw
they
that.
called it iron, coming down, and they would be on fire because they had hydrocarbons. So there was rocks. Here, I'll show you some more of the crazy stuff that was happening. This is all from the last 2,000, well, from 200 years, actually, from 1,000 to 1200 AD, what they were experiencing. And
they had a lot of ice crystals in the sky that night. That's all that was.
Yeah, you see the cross? That's your cross.
That's right. That right there is something we see up here all the time. It's called a sundog.
Well, that was the tail of the comet. No, it was not a sundog. It was the tail of the comet.
Are you sure? Because that's
yes.
3 of them.
There's a comet.
Are you
There's
sure?
a comet. Yes, a red cross with the color of fire, and there was also a red cross dripping blood. Dripping blood. That was fire. Fire. Yes, of course. It's not sundogs. No. The sundogs are these ones. Here, I'll show you the sundogs.
Well, I know what sundog.
Sundogs are different. They depict them differently.
Okay.
Here's the sundog. Well, this is like a sundog. They had these mock suns, they call them.
Yes.
And they painted these. They painted these in 1150. The mouth of hell. Well, that's something they would see very often, and that's like what is that? Mock suns. That sounds like a sundog. That's what they were experiencing. Well, I just saw in that video about the devil, they talk about this painting in here, this depiction, and this is actually the angel who's sending down. God is sending down the serpent to kill the sinners. And the angel is on the left. They just chopped his wings off in this picture. I couldn't have, you can't see, but it's an angel locking the door. So the people are in there with other little devils inside, just torturing them.
Okay, why is the angels being such a dink?
Because God,
it's dinky,
punishes. Yes, God is not good. He's very mean to people who don't obey. That's the kind of treatment they get. So of course people would get. That's propaganda. This is a propaganda painting, like I put in there. So everyone that would see that would be afraid of being sinful and disobedient. And
I'm glad you said propaganda, Tess.
Well, it's written in the word.
Yes, of course. It's all propaganda. And they have the same with the witches. Everything was all propaganda. And this scares the heck out of people. And all those depictions, there's so many crazy depictions. I'll show you some of
ancient fear porn.
Yeah, of hell, painted around that time.
That is, by the way,
that is so scary.
1150 is where Tokumado's from, though, so we're in that era. It makes sense. Like the Spanish Inquisition, you know.
Yes.
Basically, they went all, fear is good, let's go fear. As opposed to, God is great, God is good, or whatever.
Oh, no, it's ruled by fear.
Don't piss off your neighbor, or he'll call you a witch or a warlock.
Oh, dear, no.
I am, and not a magical one. I just mean to them, I would be. Look, put your hands on this. He died. That's because I know how electricity works. Don't come near me. It's like he killed him with a metal jar. Yes, I did. Didn't tell you it was hooked up to a transformer, but still, don't come near me. I'm a magician. Watch out. Because that's what they would.
The wizard is always the smartest guy in the room.
It's true. But only because he already knows how the trick is performed. You're trying to impress people who, are like where looms are high technology, right? So. And this is actually how it went down. I mean, most of the stuff that change the world, we think about as it hasn't changed in a lot of ways the way that we do things. For example, they would go and like Volta would shock people at court with his little Leyden jar, excuse me, and his piles of his salt piles, like with cardboard in them, and they would generate a charge, these primitive batteries, and he would go and give electric shocks to people or get them to rub cat hair on a piece of glass or something and make their hair stand up. So this to them was like, ooh, magic, but this stuff, all that stuff in the 1700s is what led to people getting financed by these crazy people, going, you can do what? All right, here's some gold in a research lab. Go do 17th century science or whatever. And they go and they do it, and eventually what came out of that is obviously, electricity and all those laws and such. But it was it wasn't always the case. And I think that if people, because it's clear that somehow people were holding on to this for an extended period of time. I mean, in the 1500s, you would have The Tempest by Shakespeare. So his story is about a mage as well. You go into even further back, and it seems that they had more knowledge. So this is where the idea that they were obviously seeing a connection between some of these heavenly events and the stuff they could do on the ground, but it's started fading away. And, well, as they said, it wasn't nearly as potent as it was. We don't get freaked out nearly as much as we do about comets. But
yes,
if I saw the flaming
also,
swords in the sky, I would.
Yes, look at all these shapes that the comets, depending on how they're discharging the Birkeland currents, either of the Earth or of the Sun.
Look how the nucleus,
they can look
even
so
though
many different ways, including.
Well, don't forget what angle they're coming in at as well, as opposed to what angle we're at in the solar system. So yeah.
And sometimes the people would just see the tails if they were going down towards the other side of the Earth, and they would just see the tails going crazy, like we said, like the peacocks of the 1744 comet. Remember that one that looked really beautiful, like the peacock's tail, and then they would say it's a pyramid. They were saying it's a pyramid of fire. It's a mountain of fire. They would describe them like mountains and pyramids of fire.
Oh yeah, if they're rising up, especially.
In these 2 centuries that I just from 1000 to 1200, that's what they were seeing right there. And also in the 1600, I think the Venus, when it comes by close to Earth, looks like that.
Well,
still.
Venus is pretty stable orbit right now for some reason.
Big. No, it's every 575 years. We're like 300 years from that happening, so don't worry, anyone.
Venus is not going to go anywhere.
Oh, it just close approaches a little bit, not too much. Just a little bit.
Okay. Well, it seems to be stuck where it is, like it got wedged in there. Anyway, the idea that I'm having here is, see that little dot that's in the middle of this one? That dot is the only real thing in this entire picture of a comet. All of this is just a discharge. That little tiny dot in the middle is the actual piece of rock. So all of this they're seeing, that's the coma. That's not the rock. Those are the coma discharges having their own anode tufts and stuff. Like not even being, like these are just comas. They're not the actual rock itself. The rock itself is minuscule. And that's what's very important to note when we're
Sometimes they can be big, remember. Not all.
No. The comas can get big. No. Yes, but the rock itself doesn't. I mean, even if this was the entire planet of Venus, okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. It would look gigantic.
Exactly.
Right.
So when you go look at those pictures of, when you see the pictures of Krishna, and he has a red dot in the middle of his forehead, and then his eyes would be the. I have a picture of that. I think I'll go find it real quick. See if I can locate electricity. And it's that really cool picture of Jupiter. I think I have it.
Yeah, and look, I put a picture in there about mutations that they were recording. They show them really weird, like a priest with the wings of a bird and a bird with 4 legs.
I'll find it real quick. It's that really cool Jupiter pic with the Taurus images. Yeah, that I just saw it. That one. Okay, so this is Krishna's eye, and this is Krishna's eye. The dot in the middle of his forehead, that's Jupiter. Okay, so, and I don't even know if it's the right god, so I'm just giving you an idea. All of the stuff around it, all of the stuff, if we look here at this, see how there's much more stuff going on around Jupiter further out, because that would have been eye and eye. Now there's more stuff going on here, and I guarantee you there's more forms outside of that, which are big wing-like structures and stuff. So when you're looking at this, you think of the little tiny bit in the middle. That one little dot is the planet, and all of that form around it, the arms, the legs, the wings, all of that, that's just plasma. There's no planet there. You could fly through it like it was fire. Not real in the sense
Yeah,
of,
the planet is the god, and
the stuff happening around it
are the wings.
Yeah, but there's much more. Is what I'm trying to say. Is like basically these objects that we're seeing. Whoa! It disappeared. The objects we're seeing, that little dot is being real, because that would probably be the only dot that's really there. This stuff is really cool stuff that's happening in the coma, not the actual rock itself. The rock itself is just a little tiny dot. And I think that should be the same thing happens when you imagine balls of fire coming in. These fireballs were coming in, and they would flatten out on the bottom as they begin to cover the whole horizon. But the rock that's actually incoming is quite small. It'll go right through it at the end of the day. It's because it can't, the force of the balloon is based on the electrical potential of the rock versus the potential of the Earth in the atmosphere. That's why the balloon is getting wider, because it's approaching the Earth, and the Earth is going, I have a shitload of charge here. So it starts widening out. I'm not going to let you get any closer, but then the rock is going to pass right through that layer, and once it does, it's going to all that capacitance is going to pop, and it has to go somewhere. You're going to have fire everywhere, and that's when the balloons pop, because the rock passes through it and lands on the ground. But a small rock doesn't have to be that big. It's just highly charged. But all that energy has to bleed out as soon as it hits the ground or before. By the way, there's a giant snowstorm going on, so if for some reason I get disconnected, I'm going to apologize to everyone now. That was it. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's very interesting. The extra energy. 51 centuries ago, in the Indic records of the war that they had over there, and when the gravity changed, it energized the entire heliosphere from the whole thing, because they could then all of a sudden see with their own eyes Neptune and Uranus. They mixed it up with Saturn and Jupiter, but that's what they were seeing. They were seeing all of it, and it's been getting less and less through the time. But every once in a while it'll flare, and when these things flare, you can see a heck of a lot more.
Yes.
So just wanted you to.
No, you're 100% right. We're basically. Well, the amount of glowing that's going on out there is really only happening right near the planets now. The aurora, maybe a few discharges. The rings of a planet will ripple. You'll see some minor discharges to some of the moons. That's it. Besides comets, nothing is passing through such incredibly high layers of charge that it glows anymore. Venus glows, but only the surface of the planet, like only the immediate cloud layer, if you know what I mean. Obviously, Jupiter, the same thing, and Saturn, they give off more than they take in, if I'm not mistaken.
2.5 times more heat is given off, and light, than they receive.
That wouldn't surprise me. Not at all.
And Jupiter gives
So the
off
planets
radio
are-
waves, and Saturn does too. So radio signals. Sorry.
The planets are over Unity devices.
Well, no, they would be if they were separate and distinct from the solar system and all the currents
The
in
whole
it.
circuit.
But
Right.
right now, they're just
Right.
basically a load.
Yeah.
A nice load. And thanks for being here, load, because we'd be dead if you weren't.
Load, a capacitor.
Nice to have a warm planet.
What else?
Well, it's just cold in space, so it's nice. Oh, inductance.
No, I'm saying a load, a capacitor, and what else?
Well, actually, a capacitor is a load, and so is a resistance, and so is an inductance. That's really the only loads you have, unless it's like a mechanical load, like you're moving something.
So the Earth is all three of those things, is it?
Yep, it has a resistance. That's why electricity can only flow so quickly through the planet. There are magnetic fields, so it has an inductance, and it has a capacitive layer around it, so it has capacitance. Which means the Earth will respond to certain ranges of frequencies, and certain frequencies can pass through it, and certain other frequencies will be blocked. That's what happens when you use inductors and capacitors together.
Would compression and rarefaction be considered a load, like changing pressures from one pressure to another?
Yes, that would be a load, but there has to be, electrically speaking,
What would it
there
be
has to be
called?
a transfer to turn it into that load. Like, for example, the electric ring current around the planet moves a lot of air with it. That's called the what's it called there? My God, I've drawn a blank. It's a wind that goes around. Why can I not? Guy? Why do I not know that word? Everyone knows it. The ring current that goes around the top of the planet.
Aurora.
No, well that's in space, but the one that moves the wind around in a big circle. Jet stream. Jet stream. Thank you. My God, why couldn't it? Oh, right, because there's no jets in it. It just goes really fast, so they call it a jet. But anyway, that goes around at 500 miles an hour or so. Something crazy. So that ring is a bunch of moving electrons pulling the air along with it. So yes, in that case, where it moves up and down, it's going to create pressure. So yes, in that case, that would be a load. All the wind would be a load on that circuit. Yeah.
I've got a question. There's been suggestion historically that this is caused by planets, and I've made suggestion it's caused by a smaller satellite. And now there's been a suggestion this is caused by comets by themselves. Now, what is it that, by back of the envelope calculations, what kind of body is necessary to do that to what happened to Mars or the Earth in the Grand Canyon? I think we can figure this out right now.
Well, you can calculate how much energy you'd need to do it, for sure. We don't know where it rained down, but I would assume that it rained down all over whatever planet claimed close to us would be the first idea, and everything heavy would fall back down to Earth. But obviously a bunch of dust would fly from this planet to the other planet, just like we got a bunch of dust from Mars and so forth.
Yeah, but all the asteroids out there in between Mars and Jupiter was blasted out there. I don't think a comet can do that.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure that whatever was there was blasted to pieces, and they're still attached to Jupiter somehow. Like, I mean, Jupiter affects the stuff on the far side away from it, and it also has trailing and leading asteroids, and it also has gone through the asteroid belt, which we heard here in the stories. It was discharging wildly to it, like it was. I guess in their terms, the Greeks, they said that Jupiter was just shooting sperm everywhere. So like little plasmoids hitting every rock that it goes by, I'm assuming. That's probably what made him prolific in their eyes. Get my meaning? Oh yeah, he was having sex with everything. That's just Jupiter doing Jupiter stuff. But that's my thoughts on that. There was
I'm
a
ready.
description of it.
Neil, I'm ready to go whenever you want me to steer for a tiny bit here.
I like your idea. I was about to ask Rick, because I can't read what's going on. For some reason, I'm not connected to the chat, the live chat. So how are things going in there before we get to Buddy? Or Duff, either one? Or are you dead? Did everyone die?
Sorry, I've been busy talking with some people in Discord and doing a couple of other things. I haven't had time to look at the live chat. Duffy probably has been, though.
I apologize.
I got you covered.
Thank you. I apologize. I didn't want to ignore anyone. It's just that I unfortunately cannot see the live chat right now, and I don't want to mess around with it. But hi, everyone.
Things got a little
right.
busy for me.
Great.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready whenever you are. I got some interesting comments here.
Well, that sounds perfect. I'll go do the little preview intro because, I mean, literally, it's time. I'm so far behind. But I'll put that in there, and we'll say hi right after that, and then we'll get on to Buddy. It'll be fantastic. Like this idea. Well, we have to sort of, fade it together. I'll do the fading like it is now. There we go. And I'm going to have to actually do this on the fly. And I've already hit the button. So now I'm really going to have to find it quickly. I can't do it. Welcome to the 107th episode, January 12th, 2020. We have a whole team discussing Betelgeuse, giant waves of plasma heading through the galaxy, and other astrophysical phenomenon. So please like and subscribe, and if you'd like to donate, we even have a little thing for that too. We love you all. Well, thanks for being so quiet, guys. That was very kind of you. Since I actually had to just go find that like off the top of my head because I didn't have it lined up. Very kind of you. Do not talk.
We're all very shy,
No, I mean, because I was like, oh, I'm going to have to do this. And then Rick is going to go, okay, well, we don't have to worry about guys. We're all good. And I'll be sitting there trying to talk through him. Anyway, it's all good. It's all good. So the questions, what's going on?
Is that a reference to me?
Yeah.
In the YouTube? Yeah. Well, Melvin Frohike made an interesting comment, which I think is really always good to revisit. We've covered this on the show before, but
he references time, Buddy. By the way,
he references The Last Druid by Ben McGrady. He said the pagan religions were taught in Gothic architecture behind the scenes, and he said search for YouTube. The Last Druid, which of course we've mentioned before, and is one of my favorite videos that I've seen in the last year. Bestoic Primer said, "Squid arms, bottom of squid." He says, "I'm not denying squattermen, lol, but there can also be actual squid-like, non-fossil living intelligent life." And Cole
Octopi? I like octopi.
He says, Bestoic, we could be some kind of primordial squid-like energy being that predates stars themselves. And Bestoic Primer says, "Yep, the squid god." So, I guess in that little clip, the final thing was just trying to imagine how higher dimensional phenomena beings would manifest hurts my brain. Poking my finger through a piece of paper is the best that I can do, and that's from Cole Panacea. So I thought that was an interesting little thread, and I'd bring it up to you guys.
I like that. Well, this is you're right. It's hard to imagine if there even is dimensional entities. Like a part of me wants to think about things in Star Trek ways, but then I'm much more now into the Ant-Man idea of being connected, like be able to dive in to a cell and stand on top of a quark and seeing the new worlds on top of an atom or whatever. But that's the one thing. What we're looking at here are things that we actually looked up in the sky and said, these things are something we can identify with. And then when they occasionally killed us, we got scared of them, which makes sense. It does. and now I'm going to have to watch the entirety of the show called The Last Druid. So
Oh, absolutely. I highly recommend it.
I just finished all of Witcher, so that was pretty good.
V Darkness Falls says magnetism exists within electricity. It holds current together. You can extrapolate magnetism from electricity to a coherent object magnet. Without magnetism, energy would fly everywhere.
Well, the discussion that immediately pops up is the difference between Ampere's law and static electricity. And obviously, charges exist, and they can exist without magnetism. But magnetism requires charges to move to make. That's the part where I see as charges being more dominant. But that's just an opinion.
That charge is more primary than magnetism. Magnetism's the result of moving charge, which if you don't have a particle that is charged positively or negatively, you won't have magnetism. Therefore, you will not have life or a universe even.
Well, I won't go that far. I really can't imagine. I could probably try to imagine a world without EM, but... Well, actually, I think that was a television show called Revolution, if I'm not mistaken. I know no one watched it, but apparently something in Quebec went off, and then all electromagnetism on the planet stopped working. That was a good way to bring the technology down a level, eh? It's like
Stone Age instance.
Well, the cars were all, like everything stopped and planes fell to the sky, and I remember they nuts and knew it was happening because the parents gave their kid a Coke, and they're like, "Why are you giving this to her?" He goes, "It's going to be the last Coke, the only Coke she ever drinks in her entire life, because the ability to make that requires electromagnetism, aluminum, so you can't even make a can anymore." Anyway,
all right, you guys ready to hop into it?
Did you? Are you sharing?
Yes.
Okay. Then,
you guys see my screen?
No, yes, we do now. I was like completely covering over your screen with my screen. I didn't even see it. Okay, but everyone should see it now. I'm going to enter full screen mode, and there we are. All right, buddy, you're good to go. I'll even widen up. There you go. Full screen.
Okay. So, I don't know if anybody caught the article, but David Brown narrated and found an article that's extremely hard to relocate, and it's by Wayne Byrne, and he does a wonderful job narrating the work. And
this is good stuff. This is good stuff.
This was on. No, I'm not going to play much of it. This is a video from the geometric view yesterday, and what? Well, here. Oh, hang on. Well, I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to touch on it briefly because there's a quite a bit to cover. Because we got into star forts and the geometry of lightning, and what is the structure and the geometric structure of lightning, and we got deep into it. And apparently, when charge is confined, or when there's a high amount of charge, the configuration is hexagonal packing like this, and counter rotating hexagonal charge like this, and it's dissipated layer by layer like this as it goes through the ground. Here is the different type of packing of electricity or charge. So when cubic closed packing, when charge, this is all over our body right now. This is the type of basic charge that is on the skin between any animal or anything. Like everything has a difference of charge. So when you touch it, sometimes the spark happens and it arc. So this configuration is all over the body. This is some of the information that we came to hypothesize and conclude. And then when it arcs, it creates the charge comes into this formation, and a spark comes from one being to another, and then both bodies then reassemble into a lighter or this configuration of charge. Why is this important? Because this guy's backing up Don Scott and Don Scott's model of a Birkeland current, and you can look how the charge efficient charge distribution from one part of the hexagon to another, and this is it going into the ground. So he's showing basically crater formation, and Wayne Byrne, he put all this together in 2015. It had to be around the same time, and he references Don Scott for his help for putting this together. We're trying to track down this individual. If anybody knows any information, he's wanted by by every community because it's great.
It's a real old-fashioned mystery. It's actually kind of exciting.
Yeah. So this gentleman, he also references another person in his contacts and close references that helped him directly with the paper. And this is super interesting. This is where it gets lucrative, for lack of a better term. So this is a gentleman, Louis Hissing, if anybody's heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, blah. Look at all of his credentials here. Look at the very bottom. Apart from trying to explain the Earth's geology using plasma physics, this gentleman does all this other stuff. So what's important about this? Well, one of the important things about this guy, after we were researching him on the show yesterday, because we had David Brown on the show, and he discovered this was one of his one of the links. This guy, he is one of the leading discoverers of diamond mines in the world, and so his tie to understanding how electricity works and finding diamond mines reminded me of the stuff that we talk about on this show with electricity hopping up out of the ground, or the Native American myths where electricity hopping out of the ground and going back into the ground and creating holes of diamonds or holes of different gems. You remember talking about this, Neil? Yeah. So then we brought in the fact of what you were talking about, what we were talking about last week on the electric view with the star forts and people actually building walls around where these impacts were, where if electricity were to come in here, put out the charge, create all sorts of different crystals, and a mine would be formed. It would make sense not only that it built hexagonal walls or polygonal walls, but also that we would build right on top of it walls to protect what's going on inside there. Even if it's in the middle of nowhere, like those star forts, we would build walls to protect the mining that's going on the inside.
Well, the only question becomes, like someone had said that they were underground. The majority of these are underground. However, Do we see any evidence of mining at these sites?
So then, right, exactly. That's a good question. So then I downloaded Google Earth
Like you do.
and I started looking up diamond mines. And there's a diamond mine right over here. I don't know if Brighton's on the show right now, but Brighton's down in Pittsburgh around here. Anyway, so we have this isn't a diamond mine. I looked it up and it's just where they sell it. But I was expecting to see like hexagonal walls, you know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So anyway, I did download this, and to spiral back into what we were talking about last week with Cosmos, and I did find a couple of weird places. So I don't know how to go to them. Oh, I double click them. This one says weird, so we'll see what this is.
Weird.
Whoa, take us all around the world.
Thanks.
To this
Are you paying?
Weird. I was looking for star forts and like the shape of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found like this farm that looked weird. And I think it's in like Madagascar or something.
Yeah, I suppose that could be, or it could just be a bunch of huts around a house.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
probably
wait.
a hostel.
I wouldn't
or
waste.
something.
I wouldn't waste beachfront property on a farm.
So this is Madagascar. These last couple here, and just showing some meandering rivers.
Yeah.
And if a cosmos theory was correct, you would see that type of geometry around inlets and stuff. Because if it was based off of like a sonobiology type of event where the Earth flips, and due to the resonance, these structures are built on solid ground, like we were talking. And then they built forts. I'm looking for evidence of that happened where we didn't build forts, but it still looks like weird geometries. So this is dendritic. This is just, I found these within the past half an hour here since I downloaded it. This is Israel. Isn't that crazy?
That is not water for sure. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
look at they're very short, and just like your other dendrites, they fill in all available space, but they're extremely short, and none of them do any of the meandering that you would expect. A lot of the right angle connections, which is indicative of electricity. So I'd put that on a more electricity boat, but still, that's just an opinion.
So that's part of the. Isn't that weird? Look at that topology. It creates. Is that a
very
fort
pleasing
itself?
to the eye, isn't it?
No,
look, it's a fort.
It's not a fort.
It's like.
That's just better.
What is it?
It's better pictures. That, like the stuff onto one side, it was taken on a different day. This could have been taken when there was snow on the ground. And therefore you're not seeing the tops of the mountains, and there's snow in the valleys.
And they go for cloudless. They try to do cloudless. Okay, gotcha.
But you'll find certain places that are
weather.
And some places are intentionally grayed out. Like you cannot see a high res picture of a missile site, but you can find.
This is burnt. I titled this "Burnt" just because it's like this big.
Because it's burnt.
Black area that's in the middle of a desert, and when I'm doing rocks, when I'm electrocuting rocks,
nuked with those.
Yeah, it looked like this, so I just kind of went to this. But then I went closer, and it kind of looks like mountains, I'm pretty sure, and it could be greenery.
But it's like what is it? It's sort of like
Oasis.
The Badlands covered in sand.
Is it black? Is it a black desert, or is it an oasis? Are those trees?
Those are not trees.
I
don't think there's any vegetation there. I mean, except in the valleys, you can see a little bit in there.
That looks bad. That looks really burnt. So I did that one.
You know how many villages are around it? That'll tell you.
None.
There's nothing there. There's nothing to live on there.
Yeah. So
it's you can see the area. Yeah, there's nothing to live on there. Hey,
So
Africa's gone sideways.
this is a hexagonal formation here.
That's in Iceland.
This this could be like remnants of not a wall yet built on top of one of those higher peaks, higher elevation, solid ground that Cosmos was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just waiting for someone to build on it. Maybe possibly a holy place around there. Who knows?
No, there's just not a lot of arable land in Iceland. So because it's really mountainous, so they might be trying to farm on the coast there, but I don't know.
So this is Starfort.
I've been there.
The ones I named.
Awesome.
This looks like a bunch of Starforts over here that I found, just because I was perusing along the coast here.
Oh, that's some of my favorite terrain. I mean, northern Canada. I mean, people don't go there. People don't go anywhere near here.
Right. It's almost impossible to get there. I'm going to be going up towards there, hopefully with Eric Rintamaki, the founder of Uperlite, to go hang out and survey some of the land, and he might purchase a big plot of land that has the Uperlite on it. But I looked at this one.
If you want to go up there, I can take you up there. I mean, it's not like I would recommend it.
Have like permission to go where he's going.
I have a Canadian citizenship. I can go anywhere on these lands.
Really? Well, I thought there's got to be spots where you can.
No. It's not like the United States, like where people sort of have things. I mean, yes, in communities, but literally, there's only 30,000 people in, like, you know, where Alaska sort of starts, you know, and upwards. There's so many people in Alaska, right? Well, all of northern Canada, all the territories, from the Yukon to the Northwest Territories, Nunavut, all the way across the northern part of Canada, there's only 30,000 people in an area twice the size of Australia. But no one up there. So, I mean, if you hear another snowmobile, you're pretty close to someone. Like we'd have to take we'd have to get a boat.
No, if you hear another snowmobile, you're in town.
Yeah, see. But I mean, but the most scariest thing about here is that, if I'm being frank, fucking bears. Because polar bears are
back on the bears.
Gigantic.
Because bears bad eat people.
Well, if they're hungry, we're a little bit pain in the ass. But yeah, I mean, we could go up there. I mean, we just need a couple rifles and should be fine. Go anywhere up here. I mean, literally, there's nothing. And we go in the summertime. It'd be like you'd get out, we'd get the four-wheelers going, and we just go across one of those islands or something. I mean, literally, you might be in a spot that no human being has been in 50,000 years. Like, seriously, there's nothing up there. So people just, I mean, you just go and you want to go, like, I mean, granted, you want to go in the summertime, but it'll be like a cool autumn day. So.
Is there any way we could like dig a channel from the Hudson Bay to? I bet there's rivers that flow.
Yeah, there
between the two.
Yeah, everything goes out along that St. Lawrence Seaway.
Out of Lake Superior.
Well, they go to Lake Superior. If it goes to Lake Superior, it's going to go all the way down and out by Nova Scotia. That's like the St. Lawrence Seaway thing. But yeah, if you notice, there's a lot of lakes there. That the whole place is just filled.
Oh, here's where the language is.
Oh, really? Drop us in.
Yeah, that's
if nothing else, this is a great excuse just to use Google Earth. I mean, it is a really powerful tool, isn't it? It's profound.
I see to me, that looks like some crisscrossing etching that we're still seeing that formed into lakes. I mean, look at it. Those look like etchings that you would see in the rocks that we up close. Like, I mean, seriously, like we would go look at a 1 foot 1 foot by 1 foot rock with a magnifying glass, we would see marks like this, crisscrossing through the rock. I mean,
Like, this reminds me of what Cosmos was kind of showing us.
well, no, you're really impressing me because I didn't know that this was Canada. Like, you're right above, you're in Ontario right here.
Yeah, right above.
And this
Lake
whole place, but
Superior.
which, when you think about it, if this was actually carved by electricity itself, Lake Superior, then like that whole area looks like it was, then yeah, they should be crisscrossing everywhere, and that's what we see.
Hudson's Bay and James Bay were carved by the electrical event too. Don't forget the Great Lakes. All of them were done by these electrical events. Thunderbolts of the gods.
Well, likely, I'm giving.
That's
some
the
room
hand of
for
God
error
right there.
Well, Lake Michigan is the penis of God, man.
The hand of God. And guess what? The rap god came from here. Oh.
That's pretty awesome.
This reminds me of the Aboriginal tale, the rainbow serpent. And the story goes that the rainbow serpent would dive into the ground and come back up, and every time it did so, it would create a river.
That makes total
a river.
sense.
That's kind of exactly what I was
mine.
talking about. Or diamond mine, yes. Brighton, if you were on a minute ago, that's what we were just talking about. The guy who discovered some of the most amount of diamond mines, like in Africa and different places. This guy right here, Lewis Hissink. We stumbled across him, and look, Specialties Corporate. But anyway, De Beers, Western Australia. Anyway, so he does exactly what you were talking about with the rainbow serpents. He knows the geometry of the lightning bolt and
trying to explain the Earth geology using plasma physics, hi-fi. Yeah, that's good.
And you can bet your bottom dollar that he looks at the native cultures in the area and questions them.
That's what I
And he goes on Google Earth, and he sees the rivers that are created up and down and all around, because you can see them, man. And this is like
water will flow through these crevices.
Africa, like for example, let's go to Africa and see if we can try to find some mines.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking? I've been wondering with the star forts, why they were also close to water and bodies of water. Some having water inside of them even. And this is an interesting connection because the other gentleman who was talking about the Aboriginal folklore with the idea that these lightning bolts were creating rivers, that's an interesting connection. Between
water would normally fall into the river if nothing else.
Does anybody know where there's a lot of mining activity in Africa?
That the lightning is actually creating a place for the water to go. I think
that's what I meant.
It's an interesting connection, which lends credence to the star fort idea connected to water. Is all I'm saying.
Yes.
And South America, buddy.
What I was thinking. I typed in Africa and it went here. This is Africa.
That's Africa.
Okay. Yeah, they look similar.
No, South Africa is where all the diamond mines are and the gold mines.
Okay, all right.
Or kimberlite pipes.
Okay,
you can type in kimberlite pipe. I'm sure you'll nail a few. You could probably also, if you want to find Starfort, just type in Starfort. I'm sure that they're named. A bunch of them are. I mean, obviously some aren't. But
I'm kind of looking like, okay, what was the name of? What'd you say that? Cape pipe? What?
Oh, kimberlite. I'll type it in.
How do you spell it?
Yeah, I'll just go grab. You can get it right out of the conversation. I think it's
Kimberly.
Kimberlite.
Kimberlite. Sorry. Yeah.
Lite.
Yep.
That's what he's known for finding just.
Yeah, that's where diamonds are found in those. Basically, kimberlites appear to be positive. Or almost positive strength, or a long-lasting strength.
Go ahead, Tess. What were you saying?
Have you seen in South Africa by Adam's calendar or Enki's calendar, Michael Tellinger, all those round, like thousands of round
cattle corrals, they're called.
Well, they call them that. Yeah, they're really incredible. If you want to try to find those,
It's amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking earlier.
There's pyramids as well, far away.
I was thinking.
There. Yeah.
What Brighton had to say, combined with what we're all kind of talking about, is if you go in Kentucky and there's so many mines, and you look in them, and they're filled with crystals, stalactites, stalagmites, all sorts of different things. So, and charge is moving through there, and it produces charge itself on a constant perpetual rate. But what really got me thinking just now is, what about the name of that really big mine where those crystals are growing that's like almost toxic? Is that in South America? You know what I'm talking about? They're gigantic crystals that
it's in South America.
Yeah, I was just reading about that.
Are we talking about the ones in the volcano in Mexico?
Because we could literally predict, based off of our knowledge and the electric geology knowledge, this is the serpent going up, this is the serpent going down, this is the serpent going up, this is the serpent going down, this is the serpent going up, and then here's the mine that has here's the kimberlite mine. This one isn't kimberlite because it's coming up, because the top is then going back down. This one is kimberlite, something along those lines, and we could find them and predict them on Google Earth.
I would like to pause you there, buddy, because in Australian lore, the snake came out of the ground at the Kimberley diamond mine in Australia, flew in the air for 150 miles and came back down into the ground, and there was another diamond mine there. So
yeah, this isn't a joke. I mean, this is about as serious as it gets and lucrative, and you can find them on Google Earth. I'm a morel hunter, so as soon as I find a pattern, I can readily identify it and start hunting and sniffing for the trail. And if we can start getting a hold or a grasp on what these patterns look like from above, an aerial shot, then we can start hunting for them all day long.
Actually, there's a map of kimberlite distributions. If you go check on the chat.
These kimberlite pipes go deep into the ground, like very, very deep, like
they've been like
miles.
Well, of course, they've been basically that's where the serpent, so to speak, has been actually sitting there for an extended period of time. Electrically speaking, doesn't have to be necessarily that long, but enough to basically change all the rock that was in that entire pipe into, well, most of it's into kimberlite or diamonds, high carbon content.
Okay, so if someone else wants to take it, or lead me somewhere where I might be able to find it, Kimberly.
Yeah, just type in Kimberley Diamond Mine, Australia.
That's probably a good spot.
And you'll find it. It'll take you right there.
Okay, there we go. All right, here we go, guys. Going in on it. Let's see if we can see any of the topology changes here.
Well, you're out to look for the diamond mine.
Oh, this is Kimberley, Australia. It's different.
Well, I assume that the diamond mine is.
Well, Kimberley is a province in Australia.
Oh, yeah, you're just zoomed in like a state, basically.
In
sorry, like a county. Sorry.
Argyle diamond mine.
In mythology, they also have Ka, which was the serpent of the underworld, and it would bring life. Mesoamerica, they had Quetzalcoatl, and again, it's the serpent that goes to the underworld and back to life and brings I'm forgetting his name, back up through.
Quetzalcoatl, that's his name, right? Yeah.
To life. And then in Egypt, they have Ka again, and once again, it resembles in relation to the sun going up and down, up and down. So it's not just one culture with the Aboriginals of Australia having the serpent, but multiple cultures are all using this serpent.
Indeed, yes.
Or this
Up and down or in and out. Yep.
All right, guys, here it is. Here's the plan. Here's the diamond mine. Here's the airport. Everyone got it?
I'm not walking that far.
Scroll out.
I'm gonna grab my
to
passport.
Brighton, that's very
scroll out to
informative.
150. Scroll
Sorry,
out
Brighton,
to
that's very
150.
informative.
Guys.
Where are we at?
Scroll out to 150 mile radius, and you'll find another diamond mine in the area.
You think?
Oh yeah.
I would have to type. It's probably right here. Boom and boom. This is the inset, and this is the outset.
That's more than 1,000 miles, my friend.
I don't know. Oh, it's within 150.
Yeah.
Ooh,
150.
ooh. Now we're getting down to the bottom.
Or you could just search
I don't know
for
how to type 150.
Australian diamond mines.
Okay.
And it should show you a bunch of different ones.
I'm just getting used to the software. Diamond. Oh boy. Didn't want to do that.
You're fine. Mind.
Am I?
There's no one intelligent in Australia. Have you heard the way they talk? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so this
What
is
was that green triangle south of it? There's a little green triangle south of that. What's that?
This right here?
No,
Right
further south.
here?
Keep going. Keep going. Right there.
Is that your dog, buddy?
Yeah, she's
What
in
are
heat.
those?
I haven't got her fixed yet.
Girl, I know how she feels.
That's funny.
At this time of season, I think it's almost spring. We'll all be in heat shortly here.
Got a crack across
I
the
know,
earth.
honey. I know. She just wants me to hold her hand. That's all. Literally, she can't deal without not touching me right now. Oh, anyway. Okay, so I looked at diamond mines, and that's the only one that keeps coming up, guys. So we can just. Is there a lot of them, you think, in Australia? I heard a lot of them are in South Africa. So I don't know. And does gold and other
there's a bunch of diamond mines in South Africa and in northern Canada.
There's another airport, and here's another spot. South Africa, yeah.
The particular diamond mine in Australia is like at the northwest top. It's the top of the northwest.
Over
Yeah, he was already there.
That's where we were. Yeah.
Australia is known as a major iron mine. All that red that you see there is iron.
Okay, so this is another thing that I was looking for.
That diamond mine that the Aboriginals were claiming, the snake came down and it's at the top northwest side of the continent.
That's right, where the diamond mine is. Okay. I know. Bailey, leave. Go lay down. Sorry. All right, guys. So now I'm going to go to South Africa. Oh, well, I always really like just looking at these real quick.
Those lines?
Mm-hmm. Wrinkles on the earth.
See these ones that go straight across it?
Yeah.
Those to me, if
you
zoom in on those, if you zoom in on them, you will find that each one of those is just a series of craters.
Yeah, cracks and
Wait, no,
craters.
zoom closer. You'll find that they are.
Were you looking for Kimberley, South Africa? The diamond mine is in South Africa. For Kimberley, I put a
link. I just stopped for a little gander at the oceanic midriffs and oceanics, and especially it's interesting thinking about how it's all alive. And the deep biosphere from Eugene talking about it recently. It's wonderful.
Well, there's a good reason to think that
This is also...
Go ahead.
This is Australia before the fires, too, guys. That's kind of an intense thing to see.
This is actually live. I'm on live.
Is it live?
No.
Is Google live?
Oh, I'm kidding. They have live now, 2020. Look at it. They have live
that can't be
view.
what this is.
I don't know how live they can get it, but that's crazy.
You can actually go look at the geo servers yourself and to actually look
Or the
at
volcano that just erupted. You could look at that volcano live.
Yep. Well, you can see the geo satellites will observe the entire hemisphere live.
So we should be seeing smoke and fire damage then if it's live, and I don't think that's the case. That's
This isn't. This one isn't. This is downloaded, but they have it streaming live on Google now. I want to see people's backyard live. Hey
no,
guys,
I don't.
what are you doing tonight? I'm just in your backyard. Yeah, I noticed your dog. You left your dog out, bro.
Hey, baby, that's an interesting geological formation you got there.
Look at the curves on that. Okay, so I'm done putzing around here on Google Earth. If someone else wants to pick, I'm going to get off.
Well, I got one thing. You might want to look up craters of Diamond State Park, which is in Arkansas. There's only one, and so if there's two, it hasn't been found yet.
Diamond State. Oh, craters of Diamond State Park.
Yeah, you found
Here
it.
we go. Oh, I love free falling. Okay,
Are we going to talk about Betelgeuse? However you pronounce that.
I was letting him get done first, so.
Okay.
Okay, so what do we got here, Rick, or whoever was? I'm sorry, mentioning this
James
spot here, James.
I have it on Winnipeg crater, and it's supposed to be in the southwest corner of Arkansas. It should be. It's a. Let's see. It says crater of Diamond State Park.
This says crater of Diamond State Park. That's where I'm at. State Park Road, Murfreesboro.
I like Arkansas.
Okay, now what are we looking at here? This is Murfreesboro. Now what you see here is the discharge.
Some guy from Arkansas is going to kick our asses.
I don't know. I can't locate it. I think Neil's eager to get on with the show. So, yeah, that was fun surfing Google Earth. I admonish, or I think everybody should look into this guy. Apparently, he's specialties corporate, De Beers, fake diamonds, real diamonds, whatever it is. It's a heist. But he's cool because he's trying to prove electric plasma geology. My man.
Well, remember, it's all a matter, like value is dependent on things. I mean, copper, for example, makes up as much of the earth crust as gold. However, copper is found in huge chunks at once, where gold is found in separate.
Someone asked, why is it a heist if the elements come from space? I say it's a heist because we put fake values on it, and we hold so much in vaults. Like De Beers creates a fake value for diamonds every year, every day.
Exactly.
Because of the amount. So that's why it's a heist. But you can do that with almost any element. And I wonder if
they create an artificial scarcity.
Let me just finish real quick.
That's fine.
I wonder if a lot of elements are created by these snake plasmoids that go in and out of the ground. So like gold, specularite, a whole bunch of stuff. Euperlite. I mean, what kind of electricity or charge do you have to put through ground to create luminescent properties, rocks that are luminescent naturally, you know?
Well, most of these things are found in veins, and you
Mhm.
can create them through discharge, basically.
Yep.
So
That's what David Brown's trying to do, and he was on the show and just supporting the crew, guys.
Oh
Take it
God, I
on
love David
there.
Brown.
Yeah, I love him too.
I mean, he showed some of the slow mo of his close ups where you get to see a
He
piece.
said some nice things about you too, just so you know, Neil.
Oh well, thanks.
Well-
I hope so. So hope to see him on coming up there in Portland. So,
Dude, check out his latest, man. It's so good. Top 10 of my favorite videos.
I'll go and find Electric Universe Eyes right now, but
Yeah.
I want to talk about Betelgeuse because it's been in the news, and okay. So basically been dimming since about October 2019, which, by the way, I've been watching like last year. They're right. I mean, it was the four corners of Orion were very clear. Where Betelgeuse and Bellatrix and Rigel, like they're all basically the four, and then there's a belt in the middle. And the belt's still there, very clear when you look up in the winter sky. But you're right, that shoulder is much fainter than it used to be. So it used to be one of those stars that you could use to track with. Like there's another star right, if you follow these front down to another star down there, that star would be what's it called? The star in the east. Help me out. Sirius. So this star right here, being Betelgeuse, is dimming, and people are wondering if it's going to go supernova. So let's have a chat a little bit about that while we have an opportunity. So basically, good question, is something in front of it? Well, we do know something else that's weird about Betelgeuse, is that Betelgeuse is actually shrinking. See, this is what they can see of it. See how it doesn't look like a circle?
Have you had your meds today?
Yes, I have. Thanks for asking. So, this right here, then, Betelgeuse, is this big. So the sun is this little dot in the middle. The Earth orbit of Earth is here. So this is one astronomical unit. So it is.
Neil, you're not on Skype. The image isn't on Skype. Just say.
Oh, thank you. I forgot to share my screen again. There we go. Feel better. But it's on everyone else's screen, at least. They know what I'm talking about. That's good. Or will when it gets up to there. So are you guys seeing it now?
I'm seeing
Yes.
a sun or something, but it's not the constellation yet.
No, it's not. The constellation's right there. This is Betelgeuse. This is the actual picture we have of it. The sun is this little dot in the middle. Okay. The Earth's orbit is here. This is one astronomical unit from there to there. So 2 astronomical units, 3 astronomical units, 4 astronomical units or so, 5 probably. So it's about the size of the orbit of Jupiter, if you get an idea how big that star is. So, but notice it's not round. Okay? It's not round because it's not actually, this is not the surface of the star. The star might be only as big as this star right here, our star. But Betelgeuse is in glow mode. So this is a big red aurora or coma around it. This is shrinking or pulling in at about 535 miles an hour and has been doing so for hundreds of years. Well, at least since we've been observing it. So it used to be probably out as big as Saturn, but it's pulling inwards. Now it's about to probably go into arc mode or something, and it might light up. But all the planets that were orbiting it will see stars for the first time. because it can have planets orbiting inside of it. That's how we were originally formed, so to speak. This is the purple dawn for anything living inside of that thing right now. And then the sky will open up and they'll see stars. And that star will go, well, it will go into arc mode. It's pulling its coma right now. It's not happening instantly. But obviously the voltage is changing.
Neil, I'm sorry, did you say there's no planets orbiting inside of that red?
There probably are, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yes, there are, definitely. That's, well, according to documentaries that I've been watching about brown dwarf stars, that's the most common place you could find the best type of life, or the easiest place to find life.
Well,
because they're the most stable, not like our sun. That's the harshest.
Well,
place.
it
So,
is
yes,
because we started off, basically, no matter what, we do know that there was an occlusion in the sky, which would have probably been red, and this redness would have led to a purple sky in our world. But that's, we're talking probably dinosaur age or whatever. So this right here, however, this little sun is the actual thing. Just like, remember when I said the balloons of fire falling from the sky? Or the coma is this little tiny fucking rock in the middle, is just a little tiny, like a speck of dust is a comet, but it has a huge coma around it. That's what I'm talking about. So this star we think is huge is not huge. It just is in glow mode, and it has a huge coma around it that we can see. Once it starts shrinking and pulling in, it'll go probably to white, because all of that glowing area will suddenly be shrunk down to maybe the orbit of Venus or something. It might be pretty big still. I don't know how big it is. But then it will just go whoosh. The largest stars that are blue, those are scary, because those are probably the surface of the star. So the star, like Antares, is massive. Like in real life. Like the rock that makes it up is like massive compared to what I'm seeing here.
So I have a question, Neil.
Yeah. That what I think anyway. I don't think it's going to blow up, is what I'm saying.
Are life-sustaining planets possible within that glow mode?
Yes, that's where probably all life occurs.
And that would be the red dawn or the purple universe, whatever, what we saw before that happened.
Yeah, Duff. Yeah.
Okay, it's the same. Okay.
Basically, one of the things I liked about what's his name, John Cook's work was in his SaturnianCosmology.org. One of the things that he talks about is the plants that lived and thrived during that time don't thrive now. But we didn't have seasonal plants. We had
they were changed.
Well, no, we had conifers. Conifers drop pine cones. These pine cones take 3 or more years to open up. There's nothing based on the sun's revolving around it or light changing to activate this. Not like seasons. Like orchids require seasons.
Right.
They won't even fall unless a lot of them won't even fall unless fire consumes the forest.
Makes a lot of sense then, because basically what you'd have is it'd be raining all the time, because the hydrogen from this coma, this red stuff, would mix with the oxygen, and it would rain all the time or mist everywhere. And then you would have large, I guess, ferns, I guess would be big. You'd have lots of mushrooms, because it would be damp, but you would also have this stuff would be activated a lot more by constant lightning strikes, which would be very frequent, but it wouldn't burn a lot because it'd be red. You know what I mean? Like it'd be wet, and so even though a part of it would light up, it's constantly raining. So you could have fires that would rush through the bottom of the forest, protected by the foliage above, and that could set off a bunch of pine cones for the next generation. But they'd have to have a different solution for these problems, what I'm saying, because the Earth would not have seasons. And so there'd be no flowering plants. That also leads the idea that dinosaurs had feathers because feathers are waterproof. They don't have to fly. They just have to let the water not get to their skin. So you'd have feathers. That's the best way. You're basically an umbrella. Call me crazy, but that's how I'm seeing this. And I'm seeing that that's...
Or have hair.
What I'm saying is, how far away is this? Because these people, the life was... If this goes bright and turns into a little bright dot like our sun, this place that right there would be just... I mean, quite simply, it could be dinosaur-esque, is what I mean. Like, it would be a perfect place for life to develop. That's all. So yeah, and Betelgeuse would not burn us if it engulfed us because it's just a gas, and just the planet would have its own coma around inside of this red coma. That's all. See, will Betelgeuse go supernova? Because current understanding of all supergiants is that they go red or blue and then they end their life as a supernova. But that's total bull crap, so don't listen to them. It could go at any time into a gigantic, explosion. But chances are it's going to go down the curve because basically you're going to have the voltage will change and the current seems to be going up. So if the current is going up, it's going to go from glow mode to arc mode. And if it goes to arc mode, the sun is in arc mode. It didn't explode. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. Although, to be fair, Saturn did probably go nova, but that was pretty close to us.
What if it's an object passing through a double layer and making a connection between the two double layers and getting all that energy release instantly?
It'll be a short and it will explode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's possibly what we're seeing with supernovas are these stars punching through double layers, making a connection between the two double layers and releasing
no.
massive amounts of energy
I'm not saying that
at
you're
once.
necessarily wrong, but if you think about it, since we've known the shrinking of this planet or this star for a long period of time, then because we know it has been shrinking, to see it now dimming, that's not necessarily crazy. What's happening is the energy is starting to build up around the surface of the star, and you're going to get a corona around the actual star. And this,
or is it going through a neutral gas like we see in Sapphire dark mode?
No, dark mode is what it would be if it's going the other direction. If it was expanding outwards, and then it would go dimmer and dimmer, but it's not. It's going inwards, contracting, because that's exactly where it is on the plasma curve. But
what if it's passing through a massive cloud of neon? We see what happens when they introduce neon into the...
Right, but how's the neon going to get into it?
It goes into dark mode automatically, even if the power is turned up to 100%.
Yeah, but it can't, because we can't inject anything into that thing. And what I'm saying is the gas would flow around it, because remember, plasma forms cells. It protects itself from gases exchanging themselves, unless there's a double layer.
Layers, right?
Exactly. So that would happen on the outside first. So even if it did, the outside would be affected and contracting inwards like it still is. So the same effect would be occurring. But honestly, I don't think that's probably happening. But because we would probably notice it traveling into a gaseous area. What I think is happening is it's just getting more current. I'm not sure why.
Right, that could be it too, yeah.
And so as it's starting to gradually build up the current, it's been pulling in its glow mode. Eventually it's going to dim, and the surface, there's going to be a bright dot in the middle. And that bright dot is going to get brighter and brighter as all these electrons are brought in, where it's going to go into full arc mode, and it's going to be a luminous bright dot, and like our sun, basically. And I think it'll probably go to somewhere in the yellow area.
A main sequence star, yeah?
Yeah, that's my thoughts, because it's in the red giant area right now. That's my thoughts on
Holloway Arts
that.
had an interesting comment, Neil.
I agree with that.
Go ahead there.
It,
Let's talk about that, because I could be wrong. I'm just going with Donald Scott's type stuff. So you were saying
Holloway Arts Holloway Arts actually said, imagine the vindication for the EU when we get to watch Betelgeuse planet settle into new orbits when it's ready, just as ours did.
Yeah, quite possible that we could. I mean, I don't know how far away it is. Unfortunately, I didn't look it up, but it's
330
light years. That's pretty close.
Yeah, but of course,
Would we be able...
they're a billion times wrong.
But no, but
which would mean its brightness is not as much as it was.
Like the electric cosmos. Yeah. So I was looking at this, and then this is really good. So we go to electric sky, and then they show you the plasma sun. No, try stars. Stars. This one right here. So this is where it is in the red giant area. Chances are, if it's increasing in current density at the star's surface is over this way, it gets higher. So it's going to go that way. So it'll probably go here, but nothing's here. So it's probably going to jump into here. Because these are in glow mode over here. And these brown dwarfs are here in glow mode too. But they're planet size probably. These white dwarfs are just really hot planets. And so now we're looking at, like, here it is. What is this? Here's a surface was half covered by a sunspot. So this is a big planet, and most of its surface is just not on fire anymore. See what I mean? So this is what we're looking at here with variable stars. They change color. This has happened before. Binary pairs. So all of this, red giants, this is what we're looking at here. A diffuse group in the upper corner of the HR diagram, which we were talking about, which are cool, but luminous, and are thought to be very large. They are highly luminous only because of their apparent size. That size will have a huge corona rather than inherently large diameter. So these giants don't really have a surface that could be the same size as our star. They just happen to have a really puffy outer shell corona around it that's red and relatively cool. That's all it is, I think. It's like a neon light, so to speak.
Yeah, but its size and its luminosity is going to be greatly reduced if it's a lot closer, which I believe it is.
Well, we don't know the redshift on that one. At 330, though, I think we can do parallax, can't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know. I don't know.
They say that I think they say that that's moving across our sky at 30,000 meters per second, or whatever the 30,000 is. Meters per second, or whatever.
See if I can find that thing on it shrinking. See? It's shrinking for more than a decade.
Sorry, miles per second.
It has shrunk by more than 15% since 1993. So yeah, it's, like I tell you, it's pulling in. That coma is pulling right in. And it's going to go into arc mode. And we can tell, I think it's right here, plasma. You're looking at the chart, maybe? Well, I'm just going to show you the plasma chart. Plasma chart. Modes.
We're watching Sirius all over again, folks.
Why so serious?
Why so serious? Well, Sirius was a red star, and now it's a blue star.
There. All right, so we're here. It's going, the current is going up. Okay, so it's going up in current. So it's going in the glow mode, glow discharge. And that's not proper. It should probably be this one. Because it's about even here, but notice this starts happening right here at the end, and the glow to arc transition happens right here. This is where it's at, I think. It's pulling right in. Now remember, it's pulling in quick. So it's basically, part of it's starting to go to arc mode. The core is going to arc mode, but this glow mode has to go away. And as you noted, this is the voltage versus the current. So it's going to pull the voltage in closer to the surface of the star as the amps go up. And that's what I think is going on. We're getting in that particular area.
So what's it going to look like when it does get there?
I'll never agree with Sirius Red Star Blue Star ever. I won't agree with that.
I don't know
bring
what that
up.
means. So
Sirius Red Star, Sirius turn red to blue. There's no sources of that.
Those are happened.
The
1700s.
The Dogon.
I don't know about that. No, the Dogon's. We've talked about this before. Dogon's never said that.
See?
They never said that. Either if it's Vanderbeek's work or Grail's work, they never said Sirius changed colors. There was multicolored serpents in the sky, but not Sirius changing colors. Egyptians didn't say that. Nobody said that. Those were aristocrats that were postulating. They didn't. There's no ancient sources that can confirm that. None that I've ever came across, ever. Just to throw that out there.
No,
okay, well,
I disagree with Eugene. I disagree with Eugene when he came out with that in that video. Like, whoa, Eugene, whoa.
It might be an old wives' tale type of thing.
Yeah, slow down.
Anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. I don't think it's going to lead to the whole star exploding. Although I have no idea what's going to happen to the other planets. Like if it has a large planet inside of it, let's say it's not even one star. Maybe there's 2 stars in there. You know what I mean? Like there could, when I say stars, it just basically means 2 balls of roughly the same size, because the Sun and Jupiter are not the same size. Therefore, for Jupiter to start taking over a sizable amount of charge from the Sun, it would have to be a lot bigger. The Sun will dominate it. The electric field of the Sun's huge compared to Jupiter.
There has to be a Jovian in there.
I assume that you're right. I assume that there is. I
agree that there's a Jovian in there and possibly some other planets inside the corona of our sun.
Well, the entertainment of our sun? No. But if their sun, the Betelgeuse, I have no doubt that when we look, we're going to find an exoplanet in there. I think you're right. And that would be a good prediction for the EUT. That would be falsifying the original idea, because basically you're saying without a supernova, your star shrunk, change colors, violating your whole nuclear decay idea, okay, of giants. Stars don't shrink anyway, and apparently this one is. And now there's an exoplanet there where none existed before, where you said that it couldn't exist because it would be inside the star. What do you make of that? I think the electric universe is correct, and you guys are, what's the term? Full of crap. Sorry.
For which they will totally ignore.
I think that they are.
Do we know whether or not this Z pinch that we call our sun is right on the surface of the gas giant that's buried under there, or is there a lot of space in between that corona and the gas giant that's at the center?
My thoughts
and maybe
are
a planet or two in there.
I'm going with Robitaille until otherwise proven that it has a surface in there. I'm positive. And
well, I'm just looking at.
Go ahead.
I'm just looking at the dynamic of Saturn when we were in the cosmic egg, when we were outside this solar system. We were contained within the corona.
We threw a spaceship into it and see what happened.
That's my research says that the average heliosphere is about 11.6 AUs, and so that would give a Jovian in there about anywhere from a quarter to half of AU distance from the
main star.
Yeah,
I think you're right. It'll be really close to it.
Yeah, It would be inside of all of the planets would be inside of Mercury's orbit
Yes.
size thing.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to be completely wrong on that one, but I am like more than 90% sure that if they do find an exoplanet, it will be like a Jupiter, like where Mercury is, type of thing.
Yeah, unless there's also something, like the Dog Star has. If those aren't, they're Jovian and Saturn, they're independent, the Cot or whatever, and so they would be, they could be further out than that. But other than that, the regular planets in it would be in what I suggested.
Oh, that's a good call. I think you're right. When we were talking with Daniel from Astrosmash there, or Smashomash, and what happened is this area right here, when I look at the current density going down.
Did you just say Astro Smash?
There's a show.
Yeah, he
There's a
did.
game called Astrosmash. And
Oh, that's awesome.
no.
I'm sorry.
There's a show called Astrosmash, or a game called Astrosmash when I was a kid, and that's all I think about when I think of his name. So I completely butchered it, and I'm sorry. However, Smashomash, basically, if it went down to its normal size where the sun is, down in this area, okay, down by this point. Now, this line right here, that's when you should be worried. If it starts expanding while in arc mode and getting bluer and whiter, then yes, you could have a fissioning event, and that would be a nova. And that would be very dangerous. So look for blue-white stars that are slightly expanding. That would be where you're going to reach a point where it's going to have to get more surface area, but quick. And then you're going to have a nebula go off type of thing. So that's my thoughts. So I think that we're okay. The current is increasing, but it's only going into arc mode. So we're not going, I mean, look at the order of magnitude, 10 to the 0, 10 to 2, 10 to 4, and it's a logarithmic scale. So you begin to understand what you're looking at. Oh, yes. Pi, you're absolutely right. If you're getting closer to 10 to the 4, you're basically reaching what's called breakdown point. Thermal arcing, you can't go, like, you're going any more past that, and the surface, the current on the surface of the object, be it a star in this case, is spherical and has a finite amount of charge it can hold. Anything above that is going to blow it to pieces, and in blowing it to pieces, it will barf out some of its insides, and it will shrink in size, and then so now it'll have two spheres, and if it divides itself into two equal spheres, it will increase its surface area by about 29%, and that will lower the overall surface area of the system, therefore lowering the color.
Just so everyone knows, Pi was asking a question here on Skype.
Oh, I'm sharing it. They could see it over here, I think. But
okay, cool.
Anyway, that's what I think is going on there. But anyone who has a question in the other chat about this, I mean, about Betelgeuse itself, you are more than welcome to correct me if I'm not looking at something clearly. But I think.
Well, I've been talking to Greg J for the last hour in Discord, and he's waving profusely and sends his hearty hellos to everybody.
Oh, much
here
love.
And in the live chat, and whoever is going to watch this in the future.
His work is, well, that's what I mean. I can't tell. I can talk of the science. I know what I'm looking at here. Here I am talking plasma discharge potentials and stuff, but we have to. But I can't tell the stories like he can, or Tess, or some of you. So I'm very glad that you're here, because it's truly wonderful. I'm going to try to do some justice to when we go down to Portland, because I promised someone I would do their presentation, plus I have to do my presentation, plus I would love to be there to help all of us do presentations.
And you got to pick me up on the way, and you got to do my presentation.
Oh, I got to pick you up on the way? Okay, I can do that.
Oh, snap. Picking you up on the way? That's what's up.
Well, I am probably going to drive, but I was thinking about driving across
Oh,
Canada,
wow.
but that's no big deal to drive across Canada. I could stop in Michigan. That's no big deal.
That's what's up, man.
Well, why not? It's a beautiful place, so go for a drive.
Oh yeah.
Well, have a coffee
have
when you
big-
hit Young and 401 at my place.
Well,
Hey, speaking of which,
I can pick
because
you
of
up.
global
We can
warming,
go there to Portland, dummy.
I don't have a passport, so that's no.
Get one. You have 6 months.
No, sir.
because of global warming and climate change, it is 66 degrees in the Philadelphia metro area today.
66.
Yeah, that's why you said
Oh my
snow
God.
earlier. I'm like,
No,
snow?
we're having a
snow?
storm. It is like
Oh,
That is
storm.
That's correct. It is because of
Snowstorm.
global warming and climate change. Thank you for noting that at the beginning of the sentence there.
We're in the 20s here in Seattle.
And because
tomorrow.
the Earth is flat, it's getting
20s
things are really crazy.
Fahrenheit.
In Seattle, 20s in Seattle tomorrow.
That's cold.
Yeah, I heard
That's
that
cold
too.
Fahrenheit.
I heard that too. Wow.
20 in Celsius is pretty awesome. I'll be like, oh, it's 20. That's pretty good. I'll wear a t-shirt.
Oh yeah, I'm
And
sorry,
Beetle-
not Celsius.
No, I got you.
And Betelgeuse is collapsing in on itself and is going to die.
Well, I think it's probably just going to turn into a normal star. Thank
like
God.
Dr. Tyson told us. Dr. Tyson told us it is.
Yeah, right.
Things like that. Yeah, it is.
Sean is our truth teller.
Yeah, I know.
Tell
It's going to
tell it like
collapse.
is,
Tell it
Sean,
like it
man.
is.
Oh my
brother.
goodness, it's going to collapse. And it's
All right.
going to send particles. It's going to send particles to our sun, and that's how the elements get to our solar system. Because when the stars collapse, they blow up, boom, and they send all the particles through space, and they're going to all eventually get to our sun, and then it gets to our sun, and then that's how we get Earth elements, guys.
I need some tardigrade DNA so I can survive this shit.
So what do you make of this
You
one?
know.
This is the last one we had. There's supposed to be apparently a wave. I'm. There's part of me that's seeing a red shifted something or other here that's way too big and appears to be further away, but
Totally
it's
a
probably
corkscrew.
much closer.
Yeah. Totally looks like a corkscrew. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. It does. It's like spiraling here. Or like that. Like this could be a spiral here, but we're not seeing the other arm. Just an idea. But they think of it as a, well, I don't know why they're calling it a Radcliffe wave. My God, stop with the names. So they think that they are external to galaxies. Yes. I don't think it's either, they think it's far away. Not sure.
Is it weird that I unmuted my mic just to laugh, to turn it back off? I think we need a laugh track every once in a while.
We do. We're going to end up.
I do that all the time, buddy. I think
Yeah,
it's my job.
clapping.
Everybody needs to know when I think
We
something's
should.
funny.
Actually, we can do that.
good.
You know, we should do that.
Clapping and cheers.
Every one of
I
us should do
honestly- I
like a
laughed so
woot and a
hard.
clap and a cheer, and then I'll combine them all together into one track. All of us doing it, and
Yeah,
I just
just
push
push
the
a
button. Yeah, and
I
then
like it.
just like that.
Hey,
Yeah.
by the way, that plasma globe is freaking awesome, and I think we all need to have one. We need to do it. We need to do a Patreon so everybody gets a globe, because I don't think I can go on without
It's
one.
not
I'm
that
desperate
big.
now.
See,
I need it. I gotta have one.
it costs. You can get it. I think my friend bought it at Amazon for like friggin' not even $20.
It should be like, yeah, it should be like standard issue, right? We should all
Yeah.
have one. Sitting
Well,
on our
I
desks
just
at
went
all
like that
times.
and put it in front, like right near to my thing. I was like,
Yeah, no,
ha.
it's amazing. It's our new mascot for sure.
Duffy, if you saw my workspace, I have no room for a plasma ball.
Well,
not-
we need to work that
you
out.
just see how big this
I'll be
is?
up and organized
Look at this.
things for you here.
My entire hand goes around it. It's not that big. I've dropped it on the floor twice
well,
and hasn't broken. Okay.
You know, I am not a size queen. I don't know why you're talking.
Well, no, he's sitting there. I don't have room. I mean,
It's a perfect size.
yeah,
it's
it
just a
plugs into a
perfect- yeah, it fits right.
USB port.
No,
And-
I'm telling you, it looks really cool too.
oh, and
Really
I
cool.
found this out too. Look this. Okay, watch this. Okay. Not only is it USB powered, but you can put batteries in it. So you can actually like
Nice.
put it on the top of your car, like, or whatever on your dashboard, and just take it with you. Actually, you can
Get
plug
the
it with
bolt into your
USB
helmet.
port into your car. Fuck it. It's like, what are you doing? I get it to respond to music. Put a little circuit in there.
Strap it to your chest. There you go.
Captain Moron. No, I can. My forehead. Have an idea?
Forehead. There you go. I like it.
One of the Star Trek races. Guess which one? No.
Oh, it's very Devo, bro. It's very Devo.
I thought that was a good.
Actually, I think I have that very same one on my my Amazon wish list.
It doesn't cost very much.
Right,
it's
really
like
$21.99.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and my friend was just like, "Oh, you have to have this." And look at how cool it looks in the screen.
I can't believe I didn't get one for Christmas. That's my bottom line.
I mean, it actually looks cooler on the camera than it does in real life. Like, I can see it.
No, it does.
In
it
really
looks
fine
really
detail.
Cool. You should. It's like I'm saying. You should always be there.
There we go. I can do that. Why not? Hey, see.
Now, does it actually respond to your voice at all?
No,
it doesn't. Does it?
I mean,
yeah, you need to get one that responds to your voice.
I did have one that responded to my voice when I was younger. Well, actually, it was made to respond to music, but yeah.
Back in your club days?
No, it was only like 10 years ago.
Were you a club kid, Neil?
I broke that one too. But it was bigger than this one. But well, no, I mean, I have lots of chords, so yeah, I'm in New Brunswick. So what are we going to do to farm? Haven't you watched Letterkenny? That's how it is here. I'm telling you. Anyway,
great show.
Awesome. It's progress. It's real progress.
We just basically tell each other off really creatively all the time. That's all it is. It's like, why don't you come over here and talk to this? Oh, I think I'll give you a quick flight down 2 flights of stairs.
That's like down south almost. Like,
it is kind of. There's a lot of redneckishness
down
here.
south. They're like
Letterkenny mixed with the Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, they're both Canadian.
Well, yeah, but one is what it's like to be in town, and one's like to live in a Canadian trailer park that is really exceptionally crazy.
How many Canadians do we have on the show here? How many? Okay.
Just me and Rick.
Yeah.
There's a lot more Americans, so, but it's practically the same country.
I was just curious because I love Canadians.
Just the way we
honestly,
are.
Like the music you guys have, and the all the best stations here in Detroit are in Canada, without a doubt.
Well, actually, we have a weird situation about rap. Like, it's harder to play rap because it's really hard to get enough Canadian rappers because you have to obey Canadian content rules, right? So in CanCon, you basically have to 60% of everything you play must be Canadian or something, which is fine to most because, I mean, Shania Twain's Canadian. So what are you doing to my eggs?
Sorry, I'm cooking eggs right now, and my kid's freaking out because I'm flipping them the wrong way.
Great. That's great. That's great stuff. That's great stuff.
I thought that was Tess for
I
a
know.
second.
It's like, what are you doing? I don't know what I'm doing, Tess. Are you freaking out at me? What's going on?
I thought it was Tess too. Oh my god!
It adds a real human element to the show. I love that. I love that.
Well, basically,
Don't edit it out.
I'm not. How? It's live. So this is well, I suppose I could turn off the stream and scream at it for a while or something. But so what's happening here for entertainment value is that this actual thread is going through. Like I said, I think this is a lot closer. We're not actually seeing a wave pulsing through the entire galaxy. I don't think. I think it's much more of a Birkeland current as you thought. Betty.
Yeah, it's part of the spiral arm.
I think it's basically like a cross link to something like that.
How far do they say it is?
Well, they think it's a lot further away than it, or well, that's my thoughts on that. I'm trying to find it exactly because they're using 3D dust mapping to figure this out. So, is it even real? Like, or is this just data you've found? You know. Yeah, they think it's come from the galactic center. You're right, Ted, or Pi. Because they think that's what they think because of the way that it's positioned, but I don't know if it's just a convenient positioning, is what I'm thinking.
Well, I remember just recently that a huge a gas cloud was supposed to have been sucked up by the black hole at the center of our galaxy, but was deflected and shot out away from the black hole.
Well, the part that I think is weird here is that they think of it because it goes up and down as a sine wave through the galactic plane. Well, that's why they're calling it a wave. But I don't know if it's actually a wave at much more than it would be. Like, we have a ballerina skirt around our sun, but this is a galactic arm. Not really the same thing, because you have currents going down each arm. So are these other structures that are linking arms together, maybe? Or are we seeing a twisting torus of fields going around the arm, like a ring current that we're only seeing part of? You see what I mean? Like, there's other ways of looking at this. But,
yeah, well, I just looked at the Milky Way galaxy width is over 100,000 light years by their estimation, so that would be half of that, 50,000 light years accordingly.
well, I think it's still, well, according to this, it's only 500 light years and 1,000 light years of us. So it's 9,000 light years long. So it's not that long. One tenth of the conventional idea of or less than that, the galaxy. Anyway.
What were those bright points?
Hey,
were they points of data or are they stars?
Those red dots were supposed to be star-forming stars, like new stars or something. But look at this.
All right.
The Gould Belt, talking about that again, thought since 1989 to be a ring of nearby stars and gas whose origin has long been debated, never existed. Turns out the ring is an illusion. What? The ring's an illusion, a 2D projection of this wave onto the sky. So this is the Gould Belt. This is a different interpretation of the Gould Belt. What the? All right.
Wow.
This means that we're going around. Wait, did they get this right then? Because this wave then, what they think is a sine wave, what's making them interpret it this way? Maybe it is a ring, as it looks like a ring, and something is making part of it appear to be further away than the other part and making it look like a sine wave. Like, you get my meaning? Like, let's say you have a ring, right? And then I have a speed on one side of this ring going this way, and I have ring on the other side going this way. Okay, like a spinning wheel. But if that's affecting our projection, then it could stretch out into a sine wave, even though it's actually a ring. Get my meaning?
Yeah, I see what you mean. It could be a matter of perception.
Exactly. And we're seeing a difference in distance based on...
we've only seen this structure recently. We haven't seen it.
Well, they're
probably using redshift too, right?
Exactly. So by looking at thank you for pointing that out. So the Gould Belt we think is a ring around the local chimney, sort of like the torus of our squatter man. Okay, if you know what I mean, the ring around the squatter man. You know what I'm talking about?
That we orbit every 60 or 26
you're getting that
million
idea.
years.
I mean, we've heard about this concept from Jim Weniger. There's some videos. I'll make it well, there's a thing about it in also Gareth at See the Pattern has something about that too. But Jim Weniger did a fantastic job of describing this structure, the Gould Belt and stuff, and the way that there's an hourglass shape to it in a nearby nebula that we're part of, but we can not even see anymore. We might have been able to see in the past.
The Argos.
Exactly. There's all that in there. Trust me, it's wonderful. Go take a look at it. I'll make it a thing. But anyway, this right here, though, about the Gould Belt, They said they know that since 1879, something that we did know. But the origin was long debated, as we know. Like, did the Pleiades explode? It turns out the ring is an illusion because they're seeing the 2D. They say it's just a 2D version. It's actually stretched out, but they're only assuming it's stretched out because of their mathematical model, basically. And therefore, if they have something coming towards us that's blue shifted and something going away that's red shifted, they're going to appear to look like a
it will
wave.
string out.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll string out. It won't be the proper form of it. It will string it out and look like a line with a wave
but
instead
that's because
of
their friggin' math says so. But we already know, thanks to James and others, that there are serious discrepancies between local stars. How far away is the Pleiades? 270 to 340 light years. What? Like,
are we sure about that?
Are you sure about that? Like, we're
yeah,
not.
It's because they
we're
measure
not sure
redshift
about
again.
that. Because we're like, that's how close we are.
If you're triangulating with flat paper and the universe is expanding,
yeah, you see.
Sure.
But that
is Robert Jr. on the call? Is Robert here today?
No, I don't think he is today. No,
because he posted a good article. M87, the plasma jets that are coming out of M87 are moving, 6.2% faster than the speed of light.
Yep.
Closer to the quote unquote black hole. And I forget the term, but I've heard of it before because from our vantage point from Earth, we think that it appears that it's moving faster, but it's really not. We haven't broken physics, and it's like, whoa. I read that article and was like, whoa.
I'd have to I'm gonna have to read that for next week, definitely.
They slow down. Yeah, they slow down though after a while, and no, we haven't broken physics. It's just it seems to be that way, but it really isn't. Like, guys.
See, that's what I mean. Maybe it is an actual ring, and it seems like it's not because of your data, not because of what you're really seeing. I say I like that gentleman who said, if it looks like it's exploding, it's exploding. If like take it at what it looks like. If that's what it's doing, like the rotten egg nebula looks like it's being ripped apart. Well, maybe because it's being ripped apart. Are these galaxies colliding? They look like they're colliding. Maybe they're colliding. Like, just
right.
Or perhaps they're separating.
Well, whatever. The point is that to actually describe motion to them might be erroneous, but to just let your data say that this ring that we see in the sky doesn't really exist, it's just a figment of our imagination, and so is this thing traveling faster than light. It too is a figment of your imagination. You know what that is? I feel like I'm being gaslit by the scientific community. Oh, you're not seeing what you think you're seeing.
Yes.
Yeah, but here's our 2D interpretation of this wave.
Yeah. Like,
you're not seeing what you think you're seeing. You're seeing something else.
Yeah,
my mother.
Really that's how I got my black eye. I kept walking into a door. Yeah.
They're literally using gas to gaslight us.
We're being plasma lit. Sorry. But
what can we tell, Neil? What do we know about distance as far as these objects?
Parallax.
Is there something that we can't? What can we feel comfortable estimating?
Like a couple hundred light years. Parallax is all we know, and even then, redshift starts looking wrong even at that point.
Yep.
We can be looking at something at 180 in parallax, but it says 210 in redshift, so that means it's already off.
Mm-hmm.
And what causes redshift? Well, we think it's speed away from us, but obviously, if what we're talking about, we're basically following in ARP's footsteps and saying no.
It's a measure of youth.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what it is. Like, I mean, no,
that's what ARP would say.
It could be electron density. We don't know. Now, electron density and youth would be related in quasars, but maybe not in stars. If you get my meaning, like something that's been shot out of a galaxy, a fully burst that's going to turn into a new galaxy of its own, does not have the mass. It's pulling in mass. It has a low electron density. It's high redshifted. Blah 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 blah. It becomes and matures into a galaxy by pulling in material. Yada yada. Well, these are
Not
stars.
only pulling
So it might
not
not
only
be
pulling
escaping.
material, I
Right.
believe firmly that it's creating matter at the center of the plasmoid, and it's spreading it
I'm not
out into a
arguing with you.
galaxy.
I simply
But
do
as far
not
as
know.
but as far as distance is concerned,
When it shoots
But-
out in a
but-
laboratory, it's electrons and protons, is what I mean. But in like when you're dealing with galaxies spitting out, I don't know what will it turn. There's going to be electric shocks, plasma happening. There's going to be novas. There's going to be planets forming. Shit's going to get real. Anyway, you were saying, James.
yeah, well, if you take inflation out, which is just magic, because it's
Just
non-physics, you have to break physics to do inflation. If you take inflation out, the fastest thing that we've ever measured out there in the entire cosmos universe is 3 million miles an hour. Now that's obviously the fastest anything has ever gone, because if in the past it was not going that fast. But if you take that as your time limit, and you take 15 billion years, you get 67 light years across. So it's about the time it traveled, and it wasn't traveling that fast, so it's less than that. But it's double.
Oh, so
because
you're
it's going
saying
above-
if things are a lot closer together, then none of this is the same speed at all.
Well, I think what James is getting at is the universe started as one galaxy and propagated 2 and then 4, and it just like a cell,
Actually,
like cellular birth.
I honestly don't know.
That sounds like Big Bang, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
well-
no, only because
well-
we can't. I like to work
No,
where we are and
I'm
work
just
backwards.
saying
I
the
think.
science-
Not
but-
at all.
taking the velocity that we have and it's stretching out into the past to 15 billion years, if that's how long the universe actually is in age. And you have to double that because the speed it's going in one direction, it's going in the other. So you can't, so you get about 134 million, not million, 134 light years. That's as big as it can get. And it's not that big, because it didn't start that at that speed. So depending
And
on
this
how
is based
old,
on maximum observed speed
yeah, exactly.
as a foundation.
So,
Okay.
but then you
Oh.
take Gauss's law, and then you get the ratio, because as the small as the big, it's 106. So the length and breadth of the entire cosmos is 106 light years. That's all it is, and it's a billion times smaller than what they want to pretend is. So just take everything you got and divide it by a billion.
Oh,
you
that's
got it
assuming
about right.
that's assuming that basically you're completely like we don't even know anything about inflation being real and right. So it's good for you to challenge that. I don't, but doesn't parallax disprove that then? Because we know that certain stars are like only 200 light years away, because we know how big, like the sun to wait. If we wait on one side of the sun and we go to the other side of the sun 6 months later and we take the same picture, we can calculate using trigonometry and a very narrow angle, mind you, it might be wrong, to see if we're correct on the distance between that and a star. So stars within 20 light years, that's going to be really easy to do because of our instruments. But obviously, it gets harder the further they are away. And after a certain distance, we can't parallax them at all because the angle's too small to calculate.
Yeah, the parallax it's a nice trigonometry trick, and it works good for mountains and gridding the earth, but it doesn't go much further than that. And with all the other assumptions that they make in it, it doesn't work. And they are using other methods to determine the distance, and when they're using those elongated distances in the parallax itself.
Oh, you
I'm
think
assuming,
so? Okay.
I'm assuming. I don't know all the math.
Oh no.
models and
We
whatnot,
have Jim Wininger. We'll you know what? We'll get Jim to come on with Tanvir and go over this, because they know parallax much better than me, and they're and calculating it. Like he even knows different types of parallax. Like I was like, what? He's like,
Yeah.
no, you can calculate it this way. You can calculate it this way. I was like, what? So I don't want to be.
Depending on your assumptions and your other
That's-
measurement tools, you're going to make your assumptions with that.
Well, we only
This
have
would
we
be
only have an
completely
astronomical
changed.
unit to play with. I mean, because we're on the Earth, right? I mean, we can only see one astronomical unit on one side, and then we go to the 6 months later, we have another astronomical unit. So 2 astronomical units versus light years. So that calculation is only good when they're close in, because that's when trigonometry becomes possible. Once you go beyond a certain point, how are you going to measure those angles, right?
Yeah, and like I said, they're using other assumptions in the parallax itself. I assume I can't. I don't know all the stuff. And
actually, we'll go into it in the Skype later to try to make sure, because I would rather refine to make sure, because I want to adapt. Because what you tell me when you talk to me, you kind of blow my mind sometimes, but at the same time, you're speaking it very matter of factly, and therefore I'm inclined to think that you're not insane. So I'm listening to you and going, okay, this makes sense. I go, well, this is my issue. Here's my. I'm not trying to be devil's advocate on that. I'm literally going, okay, well, parallax is just trigonometry, right? Like surveying, but there is a limit because of how hard it is to measure at certain points. So, and you're right. I don't know the full scale of it to argue with you on what information they put into it or don't.
Yeah, but it's kind of like man's desire for some reason to make things much older than they are and much further away,
that
and
could be true
it's
too.
just a desire and charge, and not to mention make things out of order so that you can't figure it out. There's a desire to be in chaos, I guess, or something,
Bingo,
or just not
James,
can't
bingo.
see.